Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Start with the 9 tails and take the 7th Hokage as his apprentice. Chapter 1. What's wrong with this old thief Kishimoto? Has he really run out of ideas? The ant next door is more passionate than this when she grabs food. A handsome man sat in front of his computer desk, watching Boruto on the computer, and his hands on the keyboard began to fly rapidly. Countless words flew on the keyboard, and he argued with the scholars. After a long time, Bai Li pushed his keyboard heavily, holding a small toothpick in his mouth and said, "Mission completed. Today's keyboard fairy mission is so easy." Just about to pick up the water cup on his desk, but caught off guard, he actually spilled the water on the socket. "My homework." Bai Li's hand pounced on it, and then he lost consciousness all over his body. In the boundless chaotic universe, a lonely soul floated in it, and a faint light flashed in the chaos in the distance. Getting closer and closer. Finally, the two lonely light spots at this moment merged together. Flying madly towards a continent. Konoha village. "Even if I die, I won't let you succeed." A man with yellow hair stood in front of a huge 9-tailed fox, with handprints flying in his hands. A huge gray shadow of the god of death instantly appeared behind the man. An old man outside the barrier looked at the man who was determined to go back and shouted loudly, "No, Minato. Let me, an old man, come. The village still needs your leadership." Namikaze Minato turned around and smiled and said, "Third generation, take good care of our children, Naruto. Come on, Kushina. Come on, Minato. For our children. For our village." King Kong seal. A powerful golden chain burst out from the body of a woman with long wine red hair on the side, and directly locked up the huge 9-tailed fox in front of her. Roar. Instantly, the huge 9-tailed fox seemed to be running wild, and the powerful bite force bit down fiercely. But it didn't work. Then the woman fell heavily to the ground and lost consciousness. Shiki Fujin. The huge death god's phantom slashed down with the knife in his hand, directly cutting the huge 9-tailed fox into 2 parts. He directly sealed the negative chakra on his body. 8 trigrams seal. Seal. Minato did not fall down like this. The sealing technique in his hand kept changing. An 8 trigrams seal directly sealed the remaining positive chakra on his child's belly. Then he finally fell heavily to the ground. The old man outside the barrier was anxious in an instant and shouted, "Hurry up, break the formation quickly." "Wow, what is this place and why is it so gray?" Bai Li slowly opened his eyes, looking at the dark and humid scene around him, and couldn't help frowning. Stretching out his hand, rubbing his eyes, just about to say something. "No, why is it furry? What is this? Claws?" Bai Li blinked his eyes fiercely, closed them tightly, and opened them quickly, watching his claws without any changes. Finally, he couldn't help shouting in the whole dungeon, "My handsome face! My handsome face! Why am I covered in hair?" Bai Li looked down at the puddle under him that he couldn't dive into at all, and a handsome fox face appeared in the puddle. The corners of Bai Li's mouth kept twitching, and the fox in the mirror kept twitching its mouth. In the end, Bai Li seemed to accept his fate and sat down in the puddle with a sigh. Why do other people's traversers have reincarnation eyes or something? Why am I a fox, and half of the 9-tailed llama? Really, I don't know where the dog system has gone. I'm so annoyed. Bai Li kept waving his little paws, waving in the air and finally hitting the puddle heavily. "Hey, after crossing into the world of Naruto, do I have to be the power bank of the child of destiny? I don't accept it." Bai Li sat up directly. The fox's eyes were full of unwillingness, and the chakra on his body began to surge wildly. "Ah, you, charge." The Bagua seal showed its power immediately, and countless sealing techniques instantly suppressed the 9-tails' power back. The 3rd generation held Naruto, who was still in the cradle at this time, and his face changed slightly, and his figure came directly to the sealed Anbu. "Quick, the 9-tails chakra is moving. Quick, add more seals." Countless mysterious people holding scrolls and wearing masks appeared, unfolding the scrolls in their hands, and countless sealing techniques directly covered Naruto's small body. Finally, the power of countless sealing teams finally suppressed the incomplete 9-tails, Bai Li, back. The 3rd generation looked at Naruto, who had returned to normal at this time, and said to his confidant, "Ha, you really have a strong resistance ability. Haven't you found a suitable 9-tails Jinchuriki yet?" The middle-aged man next to the third Hokage lowered his head and said, Hokage-sama, there are too few members of the Uzumaki clan. We can't find one at all. There is no suitable physique in Konoha village. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the child in his arms and sighed slightly. Is this fate? It seems that the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is really you. You must save your life. The third Hokage looked at the awakened Naruto looking at him with his big eyes, and couldn't help but laugh and scratched little Naruto's nose. Little Naruto stretched out his white and tender hands and immediately caught Sarutobi Hiruzen's index finger, then put it in his mouth and started sucking it. Sandai hurriedly took out his fingers and said, this can't be done. Whoa whoa whoa. But little Naruto seemed to be directly offended by the third Hokage's move. He started crying in an instant and also peed all over the third Hokage. The third Hokage's face suddenly darkened, and he immediately put Naruto back into the hospital in a flash, and quickly returned to his home to change his clothes. Bailey looked at the scene in front of him, and his suppressed anger turned into boundless happiness, and he smiled and said, Little Naruto, you did a great job. This move of yours can be regarded as giving the old guy a beating. Quote. But Bailey, who was halfway laughing, suddenly stopped laughing and began to think hard and said, am I really going to stay in this kid's belly for the rest of my life? Hey, I don't want to be like that Nine-Tails. Hey, that middle school boy. Bite. At this moment, a clear voice sounded directly in Bailey's ears. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully traveling through time. I am your system. Do you need anything? Don't worry, others can't see me. You just need to talk to me in your heart. A crisp but deceptive voice appeared in Bailey's ears, and a system elf appeared in front of Bailey. At this time, Bailey's hair suddenly exploded, and he said angrily in his mind, your uncle, why do people's pigs' feet travel through time and are all princes, Uchiha, Hinata and so on? As soon as I travel through time, they become Kyuubi. Still half of Kyuubi. The system elf said with some embarrassment. Well, the origin of the system is insufficient. There was some substantial deviation when traveling through this world, so it became what it is now. Everything is fine. At this time, Bailey seemed to have accepted his fate. He looked at the system elf in front of him with disappointment and said, tell me about it yourself. What is the purpose of your useless system? Hey, what are you talking about? Let me show you how powerful your system master is. The system elf looked at Bailey's disappointed eyes, and the anger in his heart was instantly aroused, and he turned around and turned into nothingness. A majestic voice appeared. This system is the invincible and super handsome system in the universe, the alias sign in system. It is a new product launched by our system company. It inspires the host to become the most awesome person. Oh no, Fox. Bailey couldn't control his expression. Looking at this unreliable system, Bailey took a deep breath and said, is there a gift package for beginners? You can't let me start in hell. Of course, our system will definitely help you arrange it clearly. Congratulations on getting a newbie gift package. Do you want to take it? Receive. Congratulations on obtaining Nine-Tails Chakra Yin Invincible Sealing Technique, External Incarnation, and Improved Nine-Tails Bloodline. No more, no more. Bailey took a deep breath, suppressed the air in his body, and said, it's okay, I'm a normal 9 llama, what's the use of the remaining rewards? A useless system. The angry voice of the system elf came and said, I warn you once, I am not a waste. The Invincible Sealing Technique, as the name suggests, allows you to master all the sealing techniques in the entire Naruto world. As for the external incarnation, this one is awesome. They are the clones of Sun Wukong, but they are much stronger than the clones in the Naruto world. The improvement of the nine-tailed bloodline means that your body is now made of more than just chakra, you are now a flesh and blood nine-tailed fox. I'm so exhausted, don't tell me that you're going to lie down now. The system elf looked at Bailey's leisurely look and couldn't help but start complaining. Bailey clapped his hands and said, no, let's take out the nine-tails chakra first. I'll turn myself into a normal fox first. Suddenly, a large cloud of nine-tails chakra appeared in the entire dungeon. The white raccoon swallowed it in one gulp. No hesitation at all. Then, the entire fox began to grow infinitely, and the entire Bagua seal began to shake continuously, but it didn't take long before the fusion process of Bailey finally ended. The complete Kyuubi. An idea suddenly appeared in Bai Li's mind, and he began to roar helplessly. Ouch! Who are you? Get out of my body quickly. Otherwise, I will swallow you in one gulp. It turned out to be Kyuubi's remnants. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of Bai Li's mouth, directly crushing Kyuubi's remaining thoughts. Bai Li felt the endless power in his body, and kept sighing, this six paths immortal is really partial, there is really a lot of power. Integrate blood, learn external incarnation and invincible sealing techniques. There was no great momentum this time, and it was carried out in a low-key manner. But the moment the Nine Tails bloodline entered, Bai Li felt that his whole body began to burn. After an unknown amount of time, Bai Li slowly opened his eyes. The system sound sounded in time. Ding! Congratulations on the host's bloodline being upgraded to the Nine-Tailed Fox bloodline. There is still one more chance to sign in to use it. Use. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Enjoy playing with your Gundam. Ah, this Nine Llamas Sharingan is interesting. There was a slight smile on the corner of Bai Li's mouth, and a hint of coolness suddenly flowed through his eyes, and the appearance of a kaleidoscope instantly appeared in Bai Li's eyes. Bai Li closed his eyes, and the kaleidoscope disappeared instantly. Looking at the flawless Bagua seal in front of him, Bai Li couldn't help but widen his fox eyes and said, "This formation breaking method is not enough for me to turn over." Then, Bai Li's fox paw touched the huge prison, and the huge prison disappeared instantly, and a transparent magic circle appeared in it. Bai Li lay comfortably on the ground and said, "I feel much more comfortable this time." Bai Li thought about the current situation in the entire Naruto world and said, "It's not time to go out yet. If I go out, won't this little guy die? And the old fools from Obito and Danzo 3 are all looking at this. On the little guy." Bai Li thought about it, and finally lay lazily on the ground, looking at the darkness on one side of the dungeon and said, "You won't come out." But there was no response at all. Suddenly, countless Nine Tails chakras flew wantonly in the entire sealed space, and the violent breath hit this time. Minato's figure instantly appeared in the sealed space and stood in front of Bai Li. Angrily said, "Nine Tails. Don't go too far." Bai Li raised his eyebrows slightly, and said with displeasure, "Oh. I went too far. If I go too far, your son's body will bang in the next second. Explode into blood foam." Minato listened to Bai Li's cruel speech, and his heart couldn't help but tense up. Said, "Nine Tail, I know I shouldn't seal you up, but this child is innocent. Can you let him go and let me take his place?" Ha ha ha, it's really a touching scene. Bai Li's hand swept across the entire sealed space, and a large leather sofa appeared in it. Bai Li's figure began to shrink and nestled on the sofa. Said to Minato beside him, "Come here and see how your son will spend the next 5 years. I really don't know what you miss about Konoha." Then he narrowed his eyes directly. Minato looked at the uncharacteristic Nine Tail at this time, and gritted his teeth and sat directly on the sofa. 5 years later, in a small wooden house on the edge of Konoha, the blonde boy looked at the last carton of milk in his refrigerator and sighed. "Hey, is it the last carton of milk again? When will the third generation grandpa come?" "Yes, this blonde kid is Uzumaki Naruto." Uzumaki Naruto slowly let go of the expired milk in his hand, lay on his bed, and murmured, "Mom and Dad, where are you? Do you really don't want Naruto anymore? Why are the whole village calling where is my demon fox?" As he spoke, a crystal tear fell from the corner of Naruto's eyes and he fell asleep. In the sealed space, a young man with a face that could be called enchanting and handsome pulled out a piece of paper to Minato, who was already in tears next to him. Said, "Old Bo, what can I say? How can a dog like Sandai take good care of Naruto seriously? Although it is called protecting Naruto's safety, it will not let Naruto drink expired milk." Quote, "Yes, this charming and handsome young man is Bai Li. After 5 years of signing in, Bai Li can be regarded as the strongest combat power in the entire Hokage page. It can also be said that the fox who cultivates immortality. Fairy Fox. Minato on the side was also red-eyed at this time, and his heart was full of resentment towards the third Hokage and even the entire Konoha village. After 5 years of systematic education by Bai Li, the will of fire that Minato once believed in was now riddled with holes. The dignified fourth Hokage sacrificed his life to save all the villagers in the village, but in the end, His own son was regarded as an ominous symbol by the villagers. Minato's finger bones began to crack and he said fiercely, "The third generation. Mater, White Raccoon, help me, I'm going to kill him. Don't worry, you can see Naruto today." After saying that, Bailey waved his hand slightly, and Naruto's thin figure instantly appeared in the sealed space. At this time, Naruto rubbed his sleepy eyes and said in a daze, "Where is this place?" Minato's body trembled suddenly and disappeared. Bailey shook his head and sighed, "Hey, you guy." Naruto saw the handsome White Raccoon man in the center of the entire sealed space, and then said, "Brother, where is this place?" The corner of Bailey's mouth curled up and he said with a smile, "This is a place where no one can enter. There is only you and me in this place." At this time, Naruto seemed to be anxious and said, "Brother, how are you going to get out?" "I have to go out, I have to find my parents. I also want to be Hokage." But at this time, Bailey seemed to have changed. He stared closely at Uzumaki Naruto in front of him and asked, "Naruto, let me ask you, are you really happy now?" White Raccoon's words seemed to have incomparable magic power at this time, and Naruto's mood suddenly calmed down. Said, "Of course I am happy. But why do people in the village call me Demon Fox? Besides, everyone else has parents but I don't." At this moment, Minato, who was in the darkness, finally couldn't bear it anymore and rushed out, hugging Naruto Uzumaki tightly in his arms. "My son, Daddy is really sorry for you." Suddenly Minato was reduced to tears. After a long time, Minato finally let go of his embrace, and Naruto stared blankly at the familiar uncle in front of him. Said, "Is he really my father?" But at this time, Naruto's eyes looked at Bailey, who smiled and nodded his head. The next second, the small fist hit Minato hard on the stomach. Little Naruto suddenly threw himself into Minato's arms and cried, "Dad, I miss you so much." Bailey looked at the touching scene in front of him and stepped aside, watching quietly. After a long time, Bailey sat on the sofa, looked at the father and son hugging each other happily, and said, "That's almost enough. I still have something to do." When Minato heard this, he smiled awkwardly and brought Naruto to the White Fox. "Hey, that boy, are you willing to become my teacher?" Bailey looked at the innocent child in front of him and said lazily. But at this time, Minato's expression changed drastically, and he said in Bailey's ear, "Are you serious? Fart, when have I ever spoken falsely? Have you ever seen it?" Naruto looked at the big brother in front of him, knelt down with a pop of his knees and said, "I am willing to be the apprentice of Big Brother. No one is so good to me except Big Brother." Shiratuki looked at Minato and smiled, and said to Naruto, "Get up, you are my disciple, Shiratuki. I will leave this chakra refining method to you. You can start refining your own chakra after you go back. By the way, the words of those high-level officials in Konoha village cannot be trusted. You can't tell them anything about this place. Do you understand? Your father's existence cannot be exposed." Naruto listened to Bailey's words carefully and said, "Disciple knows. I also have a master today." Bailey stroked Naruto's hair lovingly, and the technique and an image were transmitted into Naruto's brain along Bailey's fingertips. "Okay, you can go back. If it's a little later, those people outside your house will report again." After saying that, Bailey waved his big hand, and Uzumaki Naruto's figure began to retreat quickly, shouting, "Goodbye, master. Goodbye, father." Minato stood next to Shirogi and asked, "What was that you gave him?" "Oh, now you have to ask this too. It's nothing, it's just a small image of Konoha village." Minato also knew what it was. He was silent for a while and said, "Is this really good for Naruto?" After hearing this, Bailey's face changed instantly and said, "Can you be a little softer in your heart? How did you become Hokage? I really admire you. Your baby is like that, and why? Why do you have so many fantasies about Konoha?" Without any rebuttal, Minato turned into a golden light and disappeared into the sealed space. "Hey, system, sign in. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in. You have obtained 6 attribute escape techniques can be instilled in others. Good stuff, just keep it for Naruto." Naruto's eyes suddenly opened, and there was a glimmer of blood and bloodlust deep in his eyes. Konoha turned out to be so dark, so let me put an end to it. Not far away, an Anbu led Sarutobi Hiruzen and quickly ran towards Naruto's hut. The Anbu members said as they ran. Naruto has been asleep for a long time, and we don't know what happened. Sarutobi Hiruzen directly opened the door of Naruto's house. Naruto looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with his big cute eyes and said, "Grandpa Sandai, what are you doing here so late at night?" "Ha ha ha, nothing, I just want little Naruto to come and see you." The Sandai looked at the extremely normal little Naruto and laughed. He took out a thin envelope from his arms and handed it to Naruto and said, "Naruto, this is your living expenses for this month, you must save some money." "Okay, thank you Grandpa Sandai." Uzumaki Naruto didn't say any nonsense to Sarutobi Hiruzen, he directly took the envelope from Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand and put it in his wallet, solemnly. "Thank you, Grandpa Sandai. Hey, good boy, Grandpa is waiting for you to become Hokage. The will of fire is still waiting to be passed on. Come on, Grandpa is going back." "Yes, Grandpa, I will." The Sandai gently closed the door and said to his confidant, "Reduce the monitoring of Uzumaki Naruto recently, there is no problem here for the time being." "Yes, I understand." After that, the two disappeared into the thick night. Naruto watched the Sandai slowly leave the house. The fierce light in his eyes was no longer concealed. He threw the envelope in his hand hard on the table, pulled the curtains of his house, and began to practice chakra. Bang! A cloud of smoke appeared in Uzumaki Naruto's house, and the figure of Bailey appeared in front of Uzumaki Naruto. "Master, well, how is the chakra training going?" "It's okay. I feel that the chakra in my body is growing all the time. My strength is also constantly increasing." Bailey nodded his head, turned around and took a sip of wine. "That's good. You should learn this three-body technique well. I will go out for a while. Don't worry about me." Well, an empty clan land in Konoha, the Senju clan land. Bailey's figure appeared here, and he kept sighing. "Hey, the strongest clan in Konoha has become empty now. It really makes you sad and lamentable." Swoosh! Who is it? A ninja in black clothes appeared on the eaves in an instant, and a kunai flew directly in the direction of Bailey. "Hey, brainless roots." Bailey's figure suddenly appeared behind this ninja, and his palm directly covered the head of the black shadow. But the black shadow did not give up any hope, and the ninja sword in his hand quickly chopped behind him. Clang! Two slender fingers actually clamped the knife. "You really don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is." Bailey's voice rang in the ears of the root members, and the immortal power in his hand quickly invaded the brain of the root members. "Uzumaki Naruto is your master. Uzumaki Naruto is your master." Suddenly, this root member had only this thought in his mind, and then he knelt down on the ground. "From today on, you are called and in my place. Do you know that you hide your own identity and desperately protect Uzumaki Naruto's safety? Your subordinates know." Then he jumped and disappeared into the darkness. The root of Konoha, Shimura Danzo, and the entire Hokage high level need to be baptized. Uchiha is indeed a good force. The light in Bailey's eyes kept flashing, and then he disappeared in the moonlight. Uchiha clan land. Bailey's ghostly figure appeared directly in the center of the Uchiha clan land. The aura on his body began to oppress the entire Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes suddenly opened in his sleep, and the aura of a strong man. Then, Uchiha Fugaku's figure began to move in front of Bailey like a ghost. "How can this boy be so handsome?" Uchiha Fugaku threw away the unhealthy thoughts in his mind and said coldly to Bailey. "I wonder what you are doing coming to my Uchiha clan's clan late at night. If you have nothing to do, please leave quickly." Bailey said, "If I have nothing to do, why would I come to you? What if I say that the Uchiha clan will be exterminated in 2 years? I wonder if you have time to discuss this issue with me." Uchiha Fugaku's face suddenly changed, and the kunai in his hand appeared instantly, and he hid it in the direction of Bailey. "Nonsense. You are a spy sent by another ninja village. I will arrest you and hand you over to the Hokage. Hey, don't you really know what you think? Think about it carefully. I will still be here at this time tomorrow." Bailey looked at the stubborn Uchiha Fugaku, shook his head, turned around and turned into a fox mask and left. Fugaku looked at the fox mask with an ugly face and said in a voice that only he could hear. "Who is he? How can he know so much about the internal affairs of my Uchiha?" After that, he returned to his room. Uchiha Makoto stood by the bed and asked, "Who is it?" Fugaku looked at the fox mask in his hand in confusion and said, I don't know either, but he is a strong man. The sky was slightly bright. Bai Li walked slowly on the street, looking at the only beautiful scenery in the morning of Konoha village, the morning market. Beauty, give me a rice ball, it's super delicious. A vendor said hello to Bai Li. Bai Li's face suddenly darkened, and he left the place at a quickened pace. The vendor's voice kept shouting behind him, as if he didn't want to lose this business. Beauty, don't go, it's delicious. Come on. Bang. Bai Li turned directly into an alley, and the whole person turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared on the spot. Who is this person? I'm such a man, you can't tell. Bai Li sat down on the sofa in the sealed space angrily, cursing, as if his whole body of the key fairy was about to awaken. Minato looked at everything in front of him with a smile, and didn't dare to speak. By the way, Minato, remember to give Naruto the Rasengan and your Flying Thunder God the next time he comes back, and we'll leave Konoha after a while. Really? Yeah, it's impossible to overthrow the current Konoha high-level officials if we stay in Konoha all the time. Shimura Danzo's roots are not so easy to remove. Minato listened to Bai Li's words and nodded blankly. I know. Then he disappeared into the sealed space. Golden light continued to appear in Bai Li's eyes. Looking at the golden nine-tails chakra clone he created, he began to think a lot. Golden light began to emerge from Bai Li's palm, and countless chakras began to peel off from Bai Li's body. Not long after, Bai Li looked at the nine-tailed llama in front of him and nodded slightly. The current strength should be no different from that of the old man Lu Dao. Create the nine-tailed llama out of thin air. The seals in Bai Li's hands began to change continuously, and a huge fox's true body appeared in the sealed space. A transparent and fragmented soul flew out of Bai Li's head and directly rushed into the body of the newly appeared nine-tailed llama. Bai Li gradually returned to the size of an adult, and nodded affirmatively at the conscious nine-tailed llama in front of him. Not bad, it should be possible to restore the cause and effect relationship of this plane. Then, the figure of Uzumaki Naruto appeared in the system space. Master. Well, come here and take a look at the nine tails. Uzumaki Naruto looked at the huge nine tails in front of him and said with admiration, Wow, this is so handsome, Master, how did you do this? Bai Li touched his little apprentice's head and said, This is not a small matter for your master. Remember, this is your greatest support when the master is not here. When this falls, the master will appear by your side. Then, Bai Li took out the system's reward in his hand, and all the attributes of the escape technique began to be injected into the body of the little Naruto. For a moment, Naruto's whole body seemed to be swimming in the whole nature. Well, Master, it feels so good. But does this mean that Master, you are leaving here? Little Naruto looked at the handsome man in front of him in confusion. Bai Li smiled and touched Naruto's head and said, How could that be? Master will of course stay by your side and watch you pay back the shame you received in Konoha with your own hands. Yes, Master, I will definitely work hard. Naruto, you are here. Minato Namikaze suddenly appeared in front of the two of them, and at the same time he took out two secret books from his arms. Little Naruto walked in front of Minato Namikaze with his eyes wide open. Well, what is this, Dad? This is something that makes you stronger, and Konoha should pay back what we owe our family. When Minato saw his son at this time, the will of fire in his heart had already collapsed, and he smiled while touching his son. Hokage's office. Shimura Danzo's arm slammed heavily on Sarutobi Hiruzen's desk. He said angrily, Hiruzen, I think you are really old and confused. How can you reduce the supervision of Jinchuriki? Don't you know how important Jinchuriki is to a village? I have said it before, if you hand over Jinchuriki to me, I will give you the best ninja. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not speak, but just looked at the incompetent and furious old man in front of him. No, what do you mean? You should say something. I think you are getting more and more useless as a Hokage. Shimura Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was calm at this time, and his heart began to feel uncertain unconsciously, but his aura did not admit defeat at all. Hiruzen drank the last sip of tea in his cup and said, Danzo, that's enough. No, I can't let the village be destroyed in your hands. My route will go to pick them up tomorrow. Danzo, are you the Hokage or am I the Hokage? Is Konoha a place where you can cover the sky with one hand? Sarutobi Hiruzen finally couldn't stand Shimura Danzo's words at this time, and stood up all of a sudden, staring at Shimura Danzo in front of him. At this moment, the domineering spirit of Shimura was directly activated, and the momentum of the whole body directly collided with Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo looked at the old man in front of him and exploded, and did not confront him head-on. Okay, remember your words, I tell you, if there is any problem with the Jinchuriki, you are the biggest sinner. After that, he turned around and left the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo's back and murmured, Danzo, Danzo, you stretch your hand a little far. This makes it difficult for me. Alas. At night, in the sealed space, Bai Li looked at the Minato father and son who were still training in the distance, and shook his head slightly. It seemed that it would take a long time to finish training today. After that, Bai Li's figure disappeared directly, and instantly appeared on the Uchiha clan's land. Suddenly, a strange perception chakra appeared on Bai Li's body. Bai Li's figure flashed quickly, and directly grabbed the Uchiha family kid next to him. Girl. A thin girl with black hair was caught in Bai Li's hand. Cough cough cough, let me go. The girl's legs were kicking back and forth, and her face was flushed as she tried to get rid of Bai Li's iron claws, but it was useless. Uchiha Izumi. If Bai Li remembered correctly, this should be the little girl who had a crush on Uchiha Itachi. Bai Li suddenly felt like making fun of Uchiha Itachi, and whispered in the girl's ear, I'm here to kill Uchiha Itachi because that guy is so annoying. Woo woo, you fool, you dare to attack Itachi-kun. I won't let you go. In an instant, Uchiha Izumi's Sharingan was triggered. The blood-red Magatama rotates in Uchiha Izumi's eyes. A Magatama, interesting. Unknowingly, the strength in Bai Li's hand became stronger, and Quan's legs gradually became weak at this time. This is a kunai flying from a distance instantly. He stabbed Bai Li hard in the back of the heart. Clang. A metallic texture sounded instantly, and the kunai was blocked outside his body by the white raccoon. A ghostly figure instantly appeared next to Shiratuki and quickly rescued Izumi Uchiha. Is this what you said about coming to my Uchiha clan to discuss matters? Harming the children of my Uchiha clan. The Mangekyo Sharingan in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes began to operate crazily, staring at the oppressive man in front of him. Don't dare to be extra careless at all. Do you really think that the Uchiha clan is like a soft persimmon in Konoha, and anyone can pinch it? Bai Li looked at the serious Uchiha Fugaku and immediately smiled, why are you so serious? It's just that this little girl from your clan is really interesting. In a short period of time, she opened a Magatama because of your son. I'm just helping you develop talents. After hearing this, Uchiha Fugaku suddenly became energetic, took Uchiha Izumi, glanced at Shiratuki and said, Follow me. In the secret room, Uchiha Fugaku looked at this outstanding girl in his clan, and his heart was filled with joy. Another genius came out of his Uchiha clan. Bai Li said helplessly, Okay, don't look at the baby like it's just a Magatama. She still has a long way to go. What do you know? Did Uchiha Fugaku hear Shiratuki's words? He replied directly. Tisk, you don't believe it. Nonsense, of course I believe it. When Uchiha Fugaku heard Shiratuki's words, he glanced at Shiratuki angrily, but before he finished speaking, he stared at the Mangekyo Sharingan in Shiratuki's eyes and interrupted his speech. Why do you have these eyes? It's nothing. Once you've experienced it a lot, you'll understand. Shiratuki sat elegantly on the seat, and the pressure on him couldn't help but make Uchiha Fugaku's body start to tremble continuously. The pressure of the eternal kaleidoscope makes people unable to kneel down. Bai Li said, now we should be able to have a good talk. A smile appeared on Bai Li's lips and he said, if my guess is correct, your current Uchiha can be said to be walking on thin ice in Konoha, but some of the dudes in the clan are still a headache as always, which leads to the news about Uchiha in the village is extremely bad. At the same time, under the pressure of Danzo Shimura and Hiruzen Sarutobi, Uchiha began to be monitored by the Hokage. If my guess is correct, your Uchiha clan has been spied by that old man Hiruzen Sarutobi. Quote. When Uchiha Fugaku heard this, he slammed the table and said angrily, can Uchiha really not be Hokage? Why has no one in our Uchiha clan been able to become Hokage since the establishment of the village? Bai Li looked at the angry Uchiha Fugaku, thinking that he had finally taken the bait, and then said, I think your current Uchiha clan still has hope, let's see if you can stop thinking about it. When Uchiha Fugaku heard Shiratuki's words, a terrifying thought arose in his heart, and he swallowed and said, Your Excellency, how do you say this? Completely eliminate the dandy children. This is the only way you can take now. There is no other way. Some ideas have been deeply ingrained in their minds. Even if you, the patriarch, take action, there is no possibility. Bailey stood up and looked at the dark night outside and said, Gudong. Uchiha Fugaku's swallowing sound became clearly audible at this time, and a silent atmosphere spread throughout the secret room. Bailey looked back at Uchiha Fugaku, who was sweating profusely, with sharp eyes, and said, It seems that the patriarch still can't let go of his heart at this time, so I'll wait and see when you can make your own. I decided to come back. After that, Bailey's figure disappeared directly into the secret room. After a long time, Uchiha Fugaku took a deep breath, helped the girl on the ground, and walked outside. Uchiha Itachi, who got up to drink water in the middle of the night, saw his father returning at night with a girl in his hand, and stepped forward and said, Father, why aren't you asleep yet? I'm thirsty and want some water. Well, by the way, Itachi has arranged a place for this girl to stay. I have something to ask her tomorrow, so be sure to make arrangements. Remember not to tell anyone, and remember not to mention it. Remember, father. Then, Uchiha Fugaku rubbed his eyebrows and walked towards his bedroom. What's wrong? Uchiha Makoto asked, looking at her husband's lost state. Uchiha Fugaku waved his hand and did not speak. Instead, he lay quietly on the bed with his eyes open and did not speak. In the quiet night sky, a deep male voice said, Makoto, will you always support me, even if I make the worst choice? Certainly. After that, the whole night fell into the most silent moment. Bailey returned to the sealed space, looked at the wind ball in Naruto's palm and said, Be serious, concentrate on yourself, and ensure the high-speed movement of chakra. When Naruto heard the words behind him, he concentrated and controlled the Rasengan in his hand with all his strength, and continued to compress it. As time went by, the Rasengan began to turn towards dark blue. Naruto, fight out, quick. Upon hearing this, Naruto quickly threw himself towards the side of the sealed space. Boom! Suddenly, countless wind marks began to run around in the sealed space, and Naruto's body spat out a mouthful of blood. Hey, this child! Bailey's body flashed and he came directly to the place where the Rasengan landed. With a drag of his hand, a golden chakra hand directly collected all the wind marks. He walked to the side of Kyuubi's body and threw it directly in. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. If you create it together, you won't feel anything. For just a moment, I felt like a trash can. Then the medical ninjutsu glowed in Barry's hands, and Naruto's injuries were repaired directly as before. Don't do such dangerous things in the sealed space from now on. I have to wipe your butt, otherwise your body won't be enough. White Raccoon Head knocked Naruto on the head and said, Yes, master. Bailey squatted down, touched Naruto's little head, and gave serious instructions. Okay, it's almost dawn, go out, today's training is over, but now the chakra training is the first priority. Well, master, I know. Then, Naruto's figure began to gradually dissipate. Okay, sleep. Bailey looked at Naruto who was leaving, and lay directly on the nine-tailed beast he made, and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Naruto went out early. Standing on the street of Konoha, everyone looked at Naruto with displeasure. He still said, How can I meet this demon fox? Really, this day is going to be unlucky. Naruto felt the malice of the people around him with a low look, took a deep breath, and raised his sunny face again to walk on the street. Auntie, how much is this vegetable? Naruto stood in front of a vegetable stall, and the sunny smile on his face did not diminish at all. No, why did you touch it? How can I sell it after you touched it? But the vegetable seller opposite looked at Naruto with more resentment in her eyes and threw the vegetables in Naruto's hand to the ground. Naruto looked at the vegetable leaves thrown on the ground, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. How did he tolerate it before? The will of fire of the third generation of Hokage is really disgusting. But Naruto still picked up the vegetable leaves dejectedly, put them in the bag, and turned to walk into the street. When passing by Ichiraku Ramen, Shuda waved at Naruto and said, "Do you want to have a bowl of ramen?" Naruto ran over excitedly, but after hearing what Shuda said, he touched his little frog wallet and said embarrassedly, "No, Uncle Shuda, I still have something to do." Shuda looked at Naruto, who insisted at this time, and said, "Okay, then come and eat next time." "Yeah, thank you, Uncle Shuda. This is in front of the three-color meatball shop, a handsome man with a little boy." The little boy looked at his brother and said, "Brother, is that the demon fox that the whole village hates? Why do they call him a demon fox?" Itachi touched his brother's head and said, "Sasuke, how the villagers look at him has nothing to do with us, but you have to remember that we can't look at him with strange eyes. His father is a hero. Okay, let's go home after shopping." Sasuke remembered his brother's words and turned to look at the direction where Uzumaki Naruto left, but he didn't expect that Uzumaki Naruto was also looking at him. In this way, the two protagonists of the Naruto plane looked at each other, their eyes full of confusion. Itachi looked at the place where his brother was looking, tapped Sasuke's forehead and said, "What are you looking at? We should go home." Sasuke suddenly came back to his senses and stared at the end of the street in front of him, which was already empty. He climbed onto Itachi's back, hugged Itachi's neck and said, "Let's go home." Naruto turned sideways at the end of the street, muttering, "Is this the future Uchiha Sasuke? He is really naive now." After that, he walked towards his home alone with bags in his hands. In an alley, a bunch of children surrounded a weak little girl and made trouble for her. "Monster. You are a monster like that demon fox. A monster without pupils." The little girl hugged her legs and cried among the crowd. Bang! The sound of a bag being put on the ground. "Are you done yet? A bunch of little brats." Naruto appeared outside the crowd, looking at the little brat who knew nothing at this time, but his words were not polite at all. "Didn't the adults in your family teach you how to live a good life? Do you only know how to bully others? Demon fox. It's a demon fox." The moment a bunch of little brats saw Naruto, they started to get confused. A voice shouted, "What are you afraid of? He is just a weakling, hit him. I wonder how he can save the beauty." A tall figure stood out from the children, holding a stone in his hand and rushed towards Uzumaki Naruto. "Ah, it's really speechless." Uzumaki Naruto looked at a group of mentally retarded little kids, and the chakra in his hand began to surge. The Anbu in the distance looked at this scene in front of him and felt a little strange. He immediately recorded it in a small notebook and looked at everything in front of him. The voice of the white raccoon reminded in time, "You can't use chakra, Naruto." After that, a layer of cold sweat poured out of Naruto's body, and he raised his fist and rushed up. Although there were many naughty children on the opposite side, they were no match for Naruto, who had refined chakra. Naruto came up and punched the leading child king to the ground. "Bah, weakling." The remaining children saw their eldest brother being knocked unconscious, and began to run away and shouted, "The demon fox hits people. The demon fox hits people." Naruto looked at the Hyuga Hinata inside, stretched out his hand and said, "Get up. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, what's your name?" Naruto picked up his bag and said to his future wife in front of him. But Hyuga Hinata blushed instantly, turned around and ran towards her home. "Naruto, I'm ugly. Then I'll go." Naruto looked at Hinata in the distance and smiled in confusion, then walked towards his home step by step. Bai Li looked at Naruto's performance at this time in the sealed space, and wanted to give Naruto a slap directly. Is there such a way to tease a girl? Even if you know this is your future wife, don't you know Hinata's performance? Your uncle. Naruto put the bot back on the chopping board directly and started to pick up the table knife, chopping one by one. Bai Li looked at Naruto in confusion and said, "This kid can cook. I remember that the video I gave him was only about the dark plot and character relationships of the entire Konoha. How can he cook? He is not going to kill me." Before Bai Li could continue thinking, someone knocked on Naruto's door. Naruto ran over quickly, opened his door, and said, "Grandpa Sandai." As expected, the person who came was Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and touched Naruto's head and said, "Little Naruto, how are you doing recently? Is your life good?" At this moment, a strong chakra came from Naruto's hand, and instantly checked Naruto's whole body. "It's okay, Grandpa Sandai, I've cooked. Why don't you come and eat some together? After that, Naruto dragged Sandai to the table and went to the kitchen to work. Hey, when did our little Naruto learn to cook? It still smells delicious. The Sandai followed Naruto's footsteps to the kitchen, looked at the fish in the pot and touched the little Naruto's head. Naruto quickly pushed Sarutobi Hiruzen out of the kitchen and pressed him to the seat. Okay, Grandpa Sandai, have a meal here. You often give me living expenses, so it's not too much for me to cook a meal for you. Okay. The Sandai looked at the cute little Naruto in front of him and said happily. In the system space, Bai Li was very satisfied watching Naruto's retreat and advance, and he clapped his hands and said, Minato, your child is really smart. He relied on his original advantages to let the old guy of the third generation get in. Minato also said with a smile on his face sitting next to Bai Li. Who would have thought that his will of fire would be smashed to pieces by a small object like you? When Bai Li heard this, his face changed and he said, it's because he's not a good Hokage. What does it have to do with me? Afternoon, Naruto stood at the door of his house and said to Hiruzen Sarutobi, Grandpa third generation will come for dinner next time. Well, you are such a good boy. The third generation looked at the obedient Naruto in front of him with joy, and decided in his heart that when he returned, he would remove all Anbu who were monitoring Naruto. Watching the third generation slowly leaving, Naruto's eyes showed a trace of evil light. Done. I finally gained some favorability with that old guy. Then Naruto closed the door of his room directly, and his thoughts suddenly came to the sealed space. Master, as expected of you, you did a great job. Now we can move a little bigger. Bai Li sat on the sofa and took a sip of water, looking at Naruto in front of him and praising him. Master taught me better. Ha 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 ha, you kid, you've only learned how to flatter me for a few days, but you've already learned how to flatter me. Bai Li suddenly burst into laughter after hearing Naruto's words and said with a smile. After that, he stood up and said, you follow your father to quickly refine chakra, and I'll go out for a walk. Immediately, Bai Tan's figure instantly appeared in an alley in Konoha. Bai Li's body flashed and he arrived directly at the outskirts of Konoha village. At this time, Obito said from a tree branch, Faye, when will our plan be implemented? A white Zetsu appeared from behind Obito and said, I don't know yet. It's not the right time anyway. Konoha is an iron wall now. Halfway through, Obito shot the kunai in his hand directly towards a big tree. Who? Oh, I also want to hear who you are. How dare you appear in Konoha's territory? Are you impatient? The white raccoon figure walked out from behind the big tree, looking at Obito in front of him with a smile on his face and said, why does this man's face make me feel a little bit familiar? Obito looked cautiously at the man in front of him who was full of oppression, and the chains in his hands tightened again and again unknowingly. At this time, Obito also calmed down and said in his voice, I am Madara Uchiha. How dare you conflict with me like this? Oh, really? At this time, Bai Li's eyes had a trace of calmness, and he looked at Obito with a slight smile. But at this time, Obito couldn't wait any longer, and his body suddenly jumped towards Shiratuki's body. The chain in his hand was like a soul-catching scythe, slashing hard at Bai Li. It's just a fake, what can you pretend to be? The eternal kaleidoscope in Bai Li's eyes suddenly opened, and his aura instantly reached its peak. Snap the palm down. In an instant, Obito's kaleidoscope began to operate crazily, and he managed to avoid Shiratuki's fatal blow in that second. Who are you? There will never be a person like you in Konoha. Obito looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He knew that no one in the entire ninja world could pose a threat to him. Not to mention the annoying man in front of you. You really don't recognize me. Little Obito. In an instant, Bai Li's whole body was full of momentum, and he pressed hard on Obito. The eternal kaleidoscope directly pulled Obito into the illusion. Do you really not remember me? This time, a deafening sound appeared directly. Kyuubi. Konoha village during the Kyuubi rebellion. Kyuubi's eyes still look like Sharingan. The bloody mouth was right in front of him, as if he was going to bite his head off in the next second. Virtualization. At this time, Obito was covered in cold sweat and wanted to escape from this world quickly, but his Sharingan didn't seem to work well at this time. Obito, do you really think you can escape? Minato and Kushina appeared in front of Obito instantly, staring at Obito with resentment in their eyes. Can you bear it? We are your teachers and mistresses. How can you be so cruel? Suddenly the fog rose, and a girl's figure appeared on the entire battlefield. Obito, I am so disappointed in you. How could you do something to harm the Leaf Village? The extremely manic Obito fell to his knees on the ground when he heard this sentence and began to cry bitterly. Lin, I just want to see you again. I don't want to be like this either. I have put in a lot of effort to see you again. Woo woo woo. Lin slowly stepped forward, touched Obito's face and said, you are so stupid, really stupid. After saying that, Nohara Lin's body slowly began to appear fragmented, and she instantly turned into a butterfly and flew away. Lin, don't leave. At this moment, Obito seemed like an angry lion, and began to frantically grab the butterfly that Nohara Lin had transformed into, trying to keep Lin in his arms. But at this moment, the butterfly flew away as if it had been lubricated. Lin, snap. A crisp snap of fingers instantly caused the entire illusion to begin to collapse layer by layer, ruthlessly shattered like a broken mirror. Bai Li's figure slowly walked out of the mirror. Obito, who was already quite emotionally broken at this time, rushed forward and grabbed Bai Li by the neck. But there seemed to be an air wall between the two of them, and they were actually separated. Please, please, I know you have the ability, let me see Lin again. Originally, Tu Jie, who was supposed to be able to kill everything in seconds, was now kneeling in front of Bai Li and begging painfully. At this time, Bai Li's voice came coldly and said, do you really not know who I am? Obito slowly raised his head and looked at Bai Li's eyes in front of him, which turned into slender fox eyes. All of a sudden, Obito quickly retreated to the roots of the tree and pointed at Bai Li in disbelief. Nine-tailed fox, how could it be you? Haven't you been sealed? Yeah, it seems that you have a very deep impression of me. Yes, it's me. I'm standing in front of you now. Do you think I look like before? Obito looked at Bai Li with an expression of seeing a ghost, and the kunai in his hand appeared instantly. He said, impossible, this is impossible. I must be in a dream. How is it possible? After that, the kunai in his hand was about to stab his stomach. Obito, we are not in an illusion. No. The white Zetsu named Afe stretched out his hands to stop Obito from self-harming, looked at Bai Li with fear, and immediately took Obito away into the distance. On an unknown tree, a person with a pitcher plant on his head slowly disappeared. Bai Li looked at everything in front of him, sighed slowly and said, really, a naughty child. And the pitcher plant was fooled. Then Bai Li's figure disappeared with a bang. A cemetery in Konoha. Kakashi took a bunch of flowers, placed them in front of a tombstone, and slowly sat beside the tombstone and said, Rin, why am I the only one left in our class? Obito left, you left, and Master left. Only I am left alone in this Konoha village. Oh, I really don't know how many days I have left to accompany you. After that, Kakashi sat beside Nohara Lin's tombstone without saying a word. Bai Li lazily lay on a tree branch and said, it's really decadent. A lonely person has become so decadent, it's better to die. Who? Kakashi's eyes turned cold, and he came directly to Bai Li with the instant body technique. The shuriken in his hand went straight to the tree branch in the southeast. Really, why are you young people so irritable and old-fashioned? You always want to fight, and you all like to start with shuriken. Bai Li gently held the shuriken and jumped down from the tree. Who are you? A word without any emotion exploded in Bai Li's ears. I'm your uncle. Who am I? Why do you always like to ask who I am? At this time, Bai Li did not have the patience as before. He flashed and came directly behind Kakashi, and directly violently dunked. Boom! A huge pit appeared at Bai Li's feet in an instant, and Kakashi also turned into the shape of a wood. In the distance, Kakashi was panting, looking at the huge pit in front of him, and his heart was full of shock. What a fast speed! Almost died. Is this the breath of death? In an instant, Kakashi's adrenaline was activated all at once, and his hands began to flash with dazzling lightning and sharp bird sounds. Lightning release. Chidori. Instantly, countless bird sounds filled Bai Li's ears, and Kakashi's ghostly figure suddenly appeared beside Bai Li. You lost. Kakashi's Chidori stabbed out fiercely. It seemed that you could see Bai Li's blood spilling on the spot. But the imagined scene of blood flying did not appear. Bai Li said with a playful smile on his face, "That's it. Son of White Fang, you can't do this." But at this time, Kakashi did not lose his mind, and quickly jumped out of the entire battlefield, and the lightning release chakra in his hand changed color again. "Who are you? What do you think?" At this time, Bai Li did not intend to go down with Kakashi, and his aura directly penetrated his body, and a huge orange fox phantom appeared behind Bai Li. Kakashi immediately took a few steps back, his eyes showing disbelief, and said, "Nine-tailed fox. How is it possible? You are not." "I am not, haha, I should be sealed now, right?" Bai Li came to Kakashi in an instant, grabbed Kakashi's collar with his iron claws, and said coldly, "But now I didn't let you get what you wanted, I came out. Now I stand in front of you, what can you do to me? You are so lazy every day, I used to eat several in one bite." Bai Li said viciously in front of Kakashi's face. But at this time, Kakashi laughed loudly. "What are you laughing at? I just didn't expect that a fox could actually transform into a human form, and such a cute one at that. It's really hard for you to pretend to be a vicious person with such a cute image." Bai Li looked at Kakashi, who was thinking in a big way, with a dark face and said, "You don't believe it?" "I believe it. Why don't I believe it? Aren't you afraid that the current Jinchuriki will die on the spot or enter my stomach?" Kakashi said, "If this is really the case, you can't ask me so leisurely at this time. You should now massacre the entire village." Quote. Bai Li looked at the dead fish eyes in front of him seriously, snapped his fingers and said, "Smart." Then he sat next to Kakashi, took out the wine flask in his storage space, and said, "Don't you hate me for killing your teacher? It wasn't you who killed my teacher, what's the point of me looking for you? How do you know so accurately that it wasn't me? What if you were wrong?" Kakashi straightened himself, looked at Bai Li from head to toe and said, "I don't think it's possible. That's right, I judge people by appearance. If you have the ability, you can beat me." Bai Li lay on the ground speechlessly and said, "Are you worthy of your teacher and your best friend by being so lazy every day? Ah, there is nothing to miss. Family and friends, there is nothing to support me to move forward. Will of fire, that's bullshit. Will of fire is bullshit without bondage." Kakashi also found a comfortable position to lie on the ground, constantly recalling the past in his mind, but it was just a passing cloud. "Do you really think there is nothing to miss in this world? What if I tell you that your teacher has left an orphan in this world? Are you worthy of your teacher?" Bai Li sat up and looked at the young man who had lost interest in life, and said softly, "How can you say that?" Kakashi sat up suddenly, his whole body excited like a dog in heat in nature. "Parker, the teacher still has an orphan in this world. That nine-tailed Jinchuriki." Bai Li did not speak, but a pair of eyes explained everything. I see, I understand." But an iron fist hit Kakashi's head hard. Bai Li said, "You know nothing, you know. I mean you talk to the third Hokage, I'll let you monitor the nine tails Jinchuriki, Naruto and I need time, you have to cover for us." Kakashi looked at Bai Li puzzledly and said, "Why? Why do you think I came to you? When you sneak into the Nine Tails Jinchuriki's house tomorrow, you will know what kind of life he lives, and you will know why I want to train him. And remember today's conversation, if you say a word, the only consequence is death." After that, Bai Li turned into a puff of white smoke and left here. Kakashi looked thoughtfully at the smoke left by the white raccoon when he left. He stood up, patted the dirt on his butt, and walked step by step towards the Hokage's office. "What, Hiruzen, you are so stupid. You want to cancel the surveillance of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. You are crazy, that is the foundation of the village." Shimura Danzo's palm slammed on the table, roaring in the direction of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen played with his old pipe, and the old god said calmly, "Danzo, don't forget that I am the Hokage. You are just a member of the elders. I can get you down anytime, anywhere." But at this time, Danzo couldn't control so much, and his whole body shook violently. "No one can use it today. No one can ignore the sword power of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. I will not agree with your decision today." At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen's momentum also exploded, and he stood up suddenly. "Danzo, don't go too far. I'm telling you, if you dare to do anything blindly, don't blame me for uprooting you." Naruto is a good boy. There is nothing wrong with Naruto. Sarutobi, you are really old and have lost your mind to power. You are really hopeless. Sooner or later, Konoha will be destroyed in your hands. At this time, the atmosphere in the entire Hokage's office was extremely tense. Right now, boom, boom, boom. Hokage-sama, see you Kakashi. A knock on the door instantly restored calm to the entire office. Enter. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around, fiddled with his pipe, and shouted outside. Kakashi still took out his dead fish eyes, lazily walked in, and placed a white paper in his hand on Sarutobi Hiruzen's table. Transfer letter. Kakashi, what are you doing? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Kakashi in front of him in confusion, but at this time Kakashi pointed at the paper with his finger. What? You want to take care of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki? Are you crazy or am I crazy? Why don't you do a good job as an Anbu? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the transfer letter and looked at this man who always surprised people in disbelief. Shimura Danzo on the side said, give me a reason. Kakashi lowered his head and said, I'm just a lonely person, relying on a little work to survive. Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered for a moment, looked at Kakashi seriously, and finally signed his name on the envelope. Sandai put his palms together and said, you should know that if there is any mistake in this matter, the whole village will be ashamed of you. Kakashi did not speak, but stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a pair of indifferent eyes. Okay, you go and take office. Thank you, Hokage-sama. After that, Kakashi walked out with the name written by Sandai himself. Shimura Danzo watched the door of the Hokage's office close gently and said to Sarutobi Hiruzen, are you sure there is stability like this? That child is already alone. Only Kai is left by his side. He wants to be idle. How can I stop him? I can't, and you, Danzo, can't. Shimura Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's determined eyes and said nothing. After a long time, Shimura Danzo dropped a sentence, you can take care of yourself. After that, he left the Hokage's office directly. Only Sarutobi Hiruzen was left sitting on his chair, smoking his pipe alone. Somebody come. Hokage-sama. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes began to flash with light as he said. From now on, we will start secretly observing Elder Shimura Danzo. Hatake Kakashi also needs to send someone to supervise him. The number does not need to be too many, just one will be enough. Yes, Danzo, don't let me down. Only these words were left in the empty Hokage's office, echoing in the void. Kakashi handed over his procedures to the other party and began to run quickly in the direction of Naruto's house. From the window of Naruto's house, I looked at Naruto's sleeping face, lying lazily on a tree branch, and skillfully opened the famous novel in the ninja world, Intimate Paradise. Hey, this book is becoming less and less exciting. Kakashi carefully observed Naruto from the gap in the book. I thought to myself, as expected of being the teacher's child, why didn't Sandai say anything? But the teacher's gene is really powerful. Tisk tisk tisk. Suddenly, Baitan's voice rang in Kakashi's ears. Now you still keep your cool behavior. That old Biden, Sarutobi Hiruzen, has sent another surveillance. I will go and deal with it. After Kakashi heard this, he lay lazily on the tree branch, covered his face with the book in his hand, and started to sleep. The next second, a gust of wind blew directly, and Baitan stood in front of Kakashi with an anbu seed in his hand. Don't tell me you're really asleep, or I'll slap you to death. Kakashi stood up instantly, narrowed his eyes and said, how is this possible? Thank you for your hard work, boss. He came behind Bai Li and pressed his shoulders and legs. He looks like a fool. Why do I feel like you are trying to trick me? Bai Li looked at Kakashi's appearance in confusion and said warily. Kakashi rubbed his hands and looked at Baitan expectantly. Boss Nine Tails, you see that my kidneys are very weak. Can you give me some kidney treasures or something? Otherwise, I am very short of mana. You can also feel that I am weak. White Raccoon narrowed his fox eyes, looked at Kakashi at this time and said, that's right. You are too weak, how can you protect Naruto? In an instant, a ball of golden chakra appeared directly on Baitan's fingertips, floating back and forth in front of Kakashi. This ball of chakra can only be used by you. If someone else uses it, it will just collapse. And although it is small in amount, I don't know how many times it is yours. It should be enough for you to use for a lifetime. After that, this ball of chakra was sent directly into Kakashi's body. Suddenly, Kakashi felt as if he had taken some medicine, and his whole body turned blood red, but it quickly subsided. By the way, I'm going to conduct special training for Naruto recently. In order to prevent this guy from letting Hiruzen Sarutobi see his brain, I won't let him see it. It's okay. I have controlled him now. The most important thing is that you just look out for us, you know. Bailey looked at Kakashi, who was slightly unreliable at this time, and warned him from side to side. I understand, Mr. Ninetales, how can I not understand? Hehehehe. Chapter 11. 1 year later. In the woods behind Konoha, a little boy with a fox face was fighting with a handsome young man. This is none other than Naruto Uzumaki and White Raccoon. Bailey looked at the boy in front of him with a smile and said, "You haven't even gotten home yet, and you're thinking of beating Master." Naruto did not respond to Bailey's words. A clone quickly appeared behind Bailey, and the wind-type Rasengan in his hand appeared quickly. Push directly towards Bailey. Without even looking at it, Bailey looked at Uzumaki Naruto in front of him with a smile and said, "Boy, you are still too young." After saying that, his hand suddenly grabbed the neck of the clone behind him. Bang! All of a sudden, the clone disappeared with his Rasengan. In front of Bailey, Uzumaki Naruto's mouth slightly curved and he said proudly, "Master, you have been fooled." Earth release. Heart beheading technique. The two Narutos emerged from the ground in an instant, and fiercely hugged Bailey's thighs. The remaining half of the clone's body was firmly fixed in the soil. 5 Narutos suddenly appeared behind him and in front of him. The Rasengan in each clone's hand is actually different. 5 attributes. Bailey looked at Naruto's reaction at this time and a smile appeared on his lips. It was obvious that Naruto was qualified now. Suddenly Bailey stomped his foot slightly, and the clone under his feet disappeared instantly. The aura on his body shook violently, and an invisible shock wave instantly enveloped countless clones. Bang bang bang. There were countless sounds of air exploding, and the clones began to explode one after another with their own Rasengan. Not one of them is Naruto's true form. Bailey looked at the clones disappearing in front of him, a smile spread in his eyebrows, and said with a smile, "You kid is really getting smarter and smarter." After that, he turned around and grabbed Kakashi directly on the tree branch. Kakashi looked at the white raccoon in front of him with a wry smile and said, "Master, you are too clueless. I even doubt that your chakra induction is off. You can also notice how I turned into Kakashi-senpai. Bang! Kakashi's appearance instantly changed into Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto kept kicking his legs in Bailey's hands. Bailey took a look at the grass under the tree. As expected, Kakashi's figure was unconscious in the grass. There was blood coming out of my nose. Hey, I really don't know what kind of sin this child suffered before he fainted. Isn't it bad to have this kind of sin against me? Really?" White Raccoon's hand moved slightly in the air, and Kakashi slowly opened his eyes. Kakashi opened his eyes, jumped up, looked around and said angrily, "Where's that little brat? He dares to steal my love from heaven. Really, he also set up illusions to seduce me, an old comrade." Turning his head, he saw Naruto Uzumaki hanging in midair, smiling happily towards him. "Hey, Kakashi-senpai." When Kakashi saw Naruto's face, he was obviously stunned for a moment, and then said directly, "You said you're a little brat, why are you stealing my intimate paradise? Aren't you looking for trouble for yourself? Really?" But he didn't say a few words to Naruto. Most importantly, Kakashi was afraid that Naruto would beat him up later. After all, put on your mask. Squatting on a tree branch. Bailey looked at the scene in front of him and said with a serious expression, "Naruto, you are so young, you can't read that kind of book, that kind of thing will not do you any good. This is what your father ordered for you." Naruto, who was always lively, suddenly lowered his head. Oh! Immediately, Bailey's body turned into a streak of white smoke and disappeared. Uzumaki Naruto was stunned and cried, "Master, you lied to me again. Didn't you promise not to use clones?" Bailey's voice came slowly and said, "After all, you are still not qualified now. Let's go, it's time to go home." Bailey's figure disappeared directly and returned to the sealed space. In Naruto's cabin, in front of Shiratuki stood Kakashi and Uzumaki Naruto. He slowly took a sip of water and said, Naruto, you are 6 years old this year. It should be time for you to enter school now, and the third generation old man should also be here. But, Bailei's face instantly turned serious and he said, your current strength cannot be exposed at all in the ninja school. Inside the ninja school are countless human resources for you in the future. You must have a good relationship. Although your current strength has surpassed Kakashi, but with deep-rooted Konoha is still far behind. Looking at Bailei's serious face, Naruto nodded his head blankly. Yes, teacher, I remember. Just remember, the third generation is coming too, so I will go back first. After that, Bailei's figure disappeared into the house. Kakashi also returned to his familiar tree branch. Sure enough, an old man knocked on Naruto's door. The third generation looked at the lovely Naruto with a smile and said, Naruto, do you miss Grandpa? Well, Naruto is really thinking about it. The third generation touched Naruto's cute little head and said, Naruto, are you 6 years old this year? You are also old enough to go to school. Do you want to go to school? When the third generation mentioned this, a strange light flashed deep in his eyes. Naruto raised his big bright eyes and said, Grandpa third generation, can I also go to school? I envy them very much. But will everyone like me, a demon fox? Speaking of this, Naruto's eyes flashed with a hint of loneliness. The third generation looked at Naruto at this time, and the trace of concern in his eyes completely disappeared, and said, who would stop our cute Naruto from going to school? Everyone will like you. Oh yeah, I can go to school too. Oh yeah. Naruto's face suddenly became happy and he started jumping around in circles in celebration. After a long time, when Sandai walked out of Naruto's house, he stood at the door and exhaled deeply. Mud, Danzo old dog, how can you attack such an honest kid like Naruto? You are really shameless. Naruto, there's nothing wrong with him. Danzo Shimura, who was far away at home, sneezed hard. He rubbed his nose and murmured, who is still missing me? Really? Bailei's handsome face looked at the departing figure of the third generation, and he couldn't help but feel a trace of sadness, thinking, hey, the majestic Hokage made a child fool, really he is obsessed with power. But his eyes were looking in the direction of Uchiha, and he began to murmur. Fugaku, Fugaku, have you made your choice after a year? In an instant, Shiratuki's figure disappeared and came to the secret room of Uchiha Fugaku's family. But just now a sharp kunai appeared across Bailei's throat. In the darkness, a man carefully positioned his kunai in the area where one hit would kill him, and slowly revealed his young face. Uchiha Itachi, the genius boy of the Uchiha family. Disciple of Uchiha Shisui. Tisk, do you have such a strong sense of crisis at such a young age? Bailei's eyebrows were filled with deep interest as he looked at the resolute but dark-loving boy in front of him. But at this time, Uchiha Itachi didn't listen to Shiratuki's nagging, and took a step forward again with the kunai in his hand. Why are you talking so much? Who are you? What are your intentions in sneaking into the secret room of the Uchiha clan leader's house? Bailey looked unhappy for a moment and said, he is really an unpleasant child. After saying that, he raised his palm. But at the exit of the secret room, a middle-aged voice came, stopping everything. Itachi, Uchiha Fugaku's figure walked out of the darkness, with a slight trace of vicissitudes on his face. Father, you go down first, I want to have a good chat with this adult. Yes. Fugaku looked at Bailey with a complicated expression, pondered for a moment and said. Sir, you are right, but in the end I was wrong. This sentence was like the last straw that broke Uchiha Fugaku's mind. At this moment, Fugaku's body began to bend, and his hair became a little gray. Bailey sighed slowly, looking at the only window in the secret room and said. If you continue to interrupt, you will suffer chaos. This is the lesson for you. My prediction this time is that 1/5 of the entire Uchiha clan may die again because of your hesitation. At this moment, Fugaku fell to the ground and covered his head. He has been fighting for the rise of the Uchiha clan all his life, but at this time, the Uchiha have to lose 7/10 of their number because of him. He is the sinner of the Uchiha clan. Bailey looked at Uchiha Fugaku, who was now deeply remorseful, and couldn't help but frown. He took a step forward, grabbed Uchiha Fugaku by the collar, and shouted. Is this the way the dignified leader of the Uchiha clan is? That's right. You are the sinner of your Uchiha clan, but if you continue to degenerate like this, all the Uchiha clan will die. Brush. In midair, a quick sword light struck directly across the side of Bailey's neck. Uchiha Izumi's figure appeared, the three magatama in his eyes slowly turned, and he said coldly, "Let go of the patriarch." Roll. Under this loud roar, Uchiha Izumi's sharp blade began to break completely. In an instant, Quan's figure was blown away. Under this kind of pressure, Uchiha Fugaku couldn't react at all, and he hurriedly shouted, "No." Itachi's figure suddenly appeared behind Uchiha Izumi, and he directly hugged Izumi into his arms. But the momentum in the entire secret room immediately started an infinite cycle. The three people who were blown away couldn't open their eyes at this time. Uchiha Fugaku, I can only remind you one last time, you can take care of yourself. After saying that, Bai Li and the momentum in the entire secret room disappeared in an instant. As Huquan okay, Itachi looked at Uchiha Izumi in his arms, took a deep breath and said, "Ahem, cough, I'm fine. How is the clan leader?" Izumi stood up quickly with her face red, and Itachi stepped forward to help Uchiha Fugaku. "Father, the strong one. Don't say too much." Fugaku interrupted Itachi's words directly, broke away from the two people's support, and limped towards his bedroom. The light in his eyes kept flickering, and no one knew what he was thinking. All that was left was two children who would blush just by looking at each other. Bailey's figure returned directly to the sealed space. He said to Minato, "How's it going? Where is Naruto's schooling now?" But Minato said calmly, "The third generation speaks." But at this time, the veins on Minato's forehead were about to rise, and he was clenching his fists tightly. Bailey shook his head and took a look at the situation outside. As expected, the third generation was still instilling his will of fire into the children. Hey, this old man is not tired of this 3 generations. Under the hot sun, Naruto Uzumaki looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was still giving an excited speech on the stage, and finally couldn't help but yawned heavily. Then his eyes started to blur and he wanted to sleep. But a girl not far away kept her eyes on Naruto. Hinata clenched her fists and secretly decided in her heart, "Naruto-kun, I will definitely catch up with you. I trust you. Come on, Hinata." After a long time, the long education class was finally released. Naruto walked into the classroom, walked around, looked at Uchiha Sasuke in the corner, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He sat down directly next to Sasuke. Sasuke slightly raised his proud eyes and glanced at Naruto displeased, but said nothing. This is a pink-haired girl with a broad forehead who came to Sasuke and said, "Classmate, my name is Haruno Sakura. Let's go have lunch together later. I brought a lunch box." After Sasuke glanced at Haruno Sakura coldly, he slowly lowered his head and said, "No, I will eat by myself at noon." Uzumaki Naruto watched the scene in front of him without saying anything, but the smile in his eyes still emerged. Haruno Sakura's temper came up, slapping Naruto's table and saying, "What are you laughing at? You are not worthy of having dinner with this lady." In an instant, Naruto looked at Haruno Sakura's hands, and the coldness in his eyes slowly revealed. "I advise you to take your own hands back as soon as possible, otherwise I don't recommend doing it for you." For a moment, this calm killing intent made Haruno Sakura tremble all over. The terrifying breath instantly entangled Haruno Sakura's heart. At this time, Haruno Sakura still relied on her girlhood and snorted coldly. "Really, what's so great about it? It seems that everyone can't do it." After that, she walked directly to her seat. "Naruto, you lost your composure. I told you that you can't make any mistakes now." Bai Li's voice slowly rose in Naruto's heart, and the calm voice made Naruto shudder. "Yes, master, I know." Uzumaki Naruto stared blankly at the textbook in front of him, swallowed and said, "Are you serious about this textbook?" After hearing this, Bai Li immediately became energetic and rolled down from the sofa, looking at everything in front of him. "Ha ha 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 ha, this third generation is really shameless." Suddenly the two adults couldn't hold back their laughter any longer, they looked at each other and laughed. I saw a clear multiple choice question on the textbook. Question: who is the most powerful Hokage in the history of Konoha? Choices: A. Hiruzen Sarutobi. B. The third Hokage. C. Dr. Ninja, Master of the Sannin. Suddenly Bailey burst into tears and laughed again, hammering the floor in the sealed space hard. Uzumaki Naruto glanced at the textbooks at this time with disgust. Not surprisingly, they were all hardcore promotions of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uzumaki Naruto sighed slightly and said softly, "You are really greedy for power." In this way, Uzumaki Naruto's ordinary day passed. At night, in Uzumaki Naruto's hut, Bailey held a long ruler in his hand and looked seriously at Naruto, who was kneeling on the ground, and said, "Do you know you were wrong?" Uzumaki Naruto was also a teacher. He knelt firmly on the ground and said, "Disciple knows." "Oh, then tell me, where do you think you went wrong?" Bailey suddenly became energetic after hearing Uzumaki Naruto's answer, and looked at Uzumaki Naruto in front of him with interest. Naruto lowered his head and said, "I shouldn't release my pressure in school. If there are high-end experts present, I might be exposed on the spot." Bailey nodded his head and said, "It's good to know, just reach out." Bang bang. Two crisp bamboo sounds sounded throughout the hut. Afterwards, Bailey threw away the bamboo board in his hand and said, "Okay, you can learn from your father by yourself. I'll go out and I'll say it one last time. Any carelessness will be the cause of your death. Quote. And, when that happens, I won't save you at all." Then Bailey's figure disappeared directly into the house. Naruto looked at the direction where the white raccoon disappeared, his eyes full of grievance. Minato sighed slightly and said, "Naruto's mind is still weak. He still can't eat himself into a fat man in one go." Under the bloody moon, the figure of the white raccoon dog appeared above the Uchiha family's ancestral hall. Bailey looked at the sky and slowly stretched out his hand, 1 drop, 2 drops. "It's raining." Bailey looked at the raindrops floating in his hand due to chakra and said slowly. Then the figure disappeared directly from the place. In the Uchiha ancestral hall, there were countless people, but the scene was extremely quiet. Snap. The rain was still dripping outside, and the sound of canes inside the house was getting closer and closer. Creak. The wooden door slowly opened, and the Uchiha elder walked out of the inner door. The great elder Uchiha slowly sat down, looked at the group of young Uchiha people in front of him, and spoke slowly. "Ahem, cough, everyone, do you know what the purpose of today is?" These words seemed to explode in the crowd, and countless voices suddenly sounded. "Yes, great elder, why did you call us here? If you have something to do, why don't you hold a clan meeting during the day?" "Yes, we are all asleep at this time. And the clan members are not complete now." Yeah. Suddenly, the whole scene in the ancestral hall was a little out of control. Bang. The sound of iron locks slamming down on the door. Uchiha Itachi's face was full of coldness, and he slowly walked back through the wet rain. Suddenly, the Uchiha tribesman said angrily, "Uchiha Itachi, what do you mean? Why are you locking us here? Who are you? Are you going to rebel? You dare to insult the great elder like this now, will you never go to heaven in the future?" Suddenly, countless voices of subjugation came towards Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi slowly raised his emotionless eyes, looked at the people in front of him, and said slowly, "Quiet." There is a hint of coldness in this sentence. The Uchiha who took the lead in speaking paused for a moment, but still collected his emotions and shouted to Uchiha Itachi. "You think your clan leader's son is awesome. If you have the guts, touch me and try. Just try." Ahem. A majestic voice directly shattered the majestic atmosphere at this time. Uchiha Fugaku walked out from the back of the ancestral hall in high spirits and said, "It seems that everyone doesn't understand my meeting today, right? I will give you a good explanation today." After saying that, Fugaku sat down on the stool with his eyes straight on the leader. The leader was also frightened by Fugaku's straight eyes. He turned his head slightly and looked at the pillar next to him. Uchiha Fugaku pondered for a while, looked at the extremely silent tribesman and said, "It seems that you don't have any problems at this time." Fugaku stood up, walked back and forth, and spoke in his own voice. "Well, I decided based on the order of the Uchiha clan leader, we Uchiha will start reform. No longer participate in the core strategy of Konoha village, and be good to the villagers. Marry with the villagers, and descendants can enter the clan according to their own wishes, and are not allowed to do so without permission. Are you capable of provoking a dispute?" Suddenly, the entire ancestral hall was quiet for a few seconds. The great elder Uchiha suddenly stood up, pointed at Uchiha Fugaku's nose and cursed, "You are betraying the teachings of your ancestors." Suddenly, the leader stood up and shouted again, "Uchiha Fugaku, you are betraying the ancestral precepts. Do you still remember the ancestral precepts? Are you still a member of the Uchiha tribe? Besides, our bloodline is noble. Why the rumor? Konoha would be in ruins without us Uchiha collapse. Yes, why can you, Uchiha Fugaku, still be your clan leader now? Get off. Get off." Suddenly, countless rebellious voices suddenly appeared in the entire ancestral hall. At this time, everyone's Sharingan suddenly opened. Uchiha Fugaku looked into the elder's eyes and said, "You are old. Don't you think about why there are no second elders and third elders here?" Then he leaned into the ear of the great elder and said, "The way you are now is no longer suitable for the development of Uchiha." Then, looking at the group of outstanding Uchiha members in front of him, he nodded slightly and said, "You are really good. Really, the iron-blooded methods of past Hokages are still useful." At this time, the people among the Uchiha clan finally reacted and pointed at Uchiha Fugaku's nose and cursed. "Fugaku, you want to kill us for being loyal to the dog of the third generation. You are not worthy of being the patriarch of my Uchiha clan. Lousy." But before this clan member finished speaking, a flash of light flashed directly at his neck. The figure of Uchiha Kwan stood on the beam of the house. The chakra in his hand was gently grasped, and the blood of this clan member began to spurt out from his neck. "Ah, you will die a horrible death. Fu." But before he finished speaking, he fell straight down. For a moment, the Uchiha clan members fell into an unprecedented silence. Uchiha Fugaku turned his back and waved his hand. In the dark, countless Uchiha clan members held kunai in their hands and directly surrounded the circle. Endless slaughter began. "Uchiha Fugaku, you really dare." But at this time, Fugaku slowly closed the door inside the ancestral hall. Bai Li looked at the blood moon in the sky on the roof, and then looked at the cruel massacre in the house, and smiled with a curved corner of his mouth. "Uchiha clan, you can't escape." But it didn't take long. Countless Anbu squatted on the branches outside, trying to detect what happened to the Uchiha clan, but they didn't dare to step forward. After a long time, the screams in the house finally ended. Uchiha Itachi knelt in front of Fugaku with blood all over his body and said, "Father, the mission has been completed." Fugaku nodded his head and said, "I know, Itachi, you go out and take Izumi to wash up first, and leave this to me." Yes. After that, Uchiha Itachi disappeared into the night with Uchiha Izumi. Fugaku slowly opened the door, looked at the nearly 70% corpses of the Uchiha clan in front of him, and sighed slightly. Crouching beside the great elder, he looked at the great elder's face and said slowly, "Really, isn't it better for you to stay at home at such an old age?" At this time, an Uchiha clan member quickly walked to Uchiha Fugaku's side and began to whisper. Afterwards, Fugaku waved his hand and said, "Okay, I know, you go down first." A strange light flashed in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes, and he murmured, "Sure enough, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are here. But this time you have to take the loss, whether you want or not. This is a conspiracy that was built at the huge cost of the Uchiha clan." Afterwards, he waved to his guard team and said, "Please bring down the great elder's head, take him with you, and let's go have tea with the third generation." Outside the Uchiha shrine, Shimura Danzo looked at the Uchiha in front of him with an unhappy face and said, "Uchiha, what are you doing in the middle of the night?" Sarutobi Hiruzen was extremely calm. He took a puff of his pipe and squinted his eyes to look carefully at the door in front of him, as if he wanted to see through the door in front of him. Muttered, "I'm really afraid that it's bad news for us." Creaky. The wooden door was slowly pushed open, and Uchiha Fugaku opened the door and greeted him. "I was just about to go find the two adults, and the two adults came just in time." After that, he happily welcomed the two into the ancestral hall. The smell of blood in the air made Shimura Danzo wrinkle his nose, and then, frowned and said, "Murder." His expression was extremely serious. His eyes were full of wisdom that only an old fox like him could have. "Excuse me, my lords. This matter should be our own Uchiha family's business, but it is of great importance, so I have to tell you too." But before he finished speaking, a group of Uchiha clan members came out. They were all covered with a layer of white cloth. Shimura Danzo directly stepped forward and lifted the white cloth of a corpse. Inside was the Uchiha subordinate he personally developed. But his eyes disappeared at this time. What did he find? But at this time, Uchiha Fugaku smiled slightly in the direction of Danzo and said, "Why don't you come in and listen to my explanation?" Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Shimura Danzo beside him and said, "We don't have anything to do. Let's see if you are short of manpower here. The Anbu can help. Ha ha ha, let's come in and talk." In the wooden house, Uchiha Fugaku, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Shimura Danzo sat in a triangle around a table. After filling the glasses of wine for the third and Danzo, Uchiha Fugaku stood up and said, "In fact, the people we killed this time were all the parasites in our Uchiha clan. They actually wanted to rebel this time. Can I just sit back and watch after receiving the news? But I am a loyal member of the Hokage faction. In order to prevent them from usurping the throne again and to prevent the situation from getting so serious, I can only kill them here." Then Uchiha Fugaku lowered his head and said directly to Sarutobi Hiruzen, "This incident happened suddenly, and I didn't have time to report it to the Hokage. Please punish me, Hokage." Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the Uchiha representative in front of him. Uchiha Fugaku finally lowered his proud head, and his face was flushed with excitement. He said lightly, "It's okay, you are also doing this for the good of the entire Konoha village. You have perfectly implemented the will of fire. Maybe when I abdicate, you will take the throne. At that time, you will have to help the entire Konoha village to a higher level." As he spoke, Sarutobi Hiruzen gently patted Uchiha Fugaku's shoulder. Uchiha Fugaku trembled slightly, and the whole person lowered his body and said, "Uchiha Fugaku doesn't want to be Hokage, I just want to do my best for the village. I don't dare to force other Fugaku." At this time, the 5 points of suspicion in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes finally dropped to 2 points. He patted Uchiha Fugaku's shoulder again and walked out with a smile. But before he took 2 steps, Shimura Danzo said directly, "Fugaku, do you know the real evidence of your people's crimes?" "I don't know, but I know that we can't let anyone have any evil intentions against the peace of Konoha village." Uchiha Fugaku answered like a lackey again, which made Shimura Danzo feel a little better. He didn't say anything else. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to have thought of something, and turned around and said to Fugaku, "Your child Uchiha Itachi, I remember he is very powerful now, right? Let him join my personal guard tomorrow." Personal guard team. Uchiha Fugaku stared blankly at Sarutobi Hiruzen's decision at this time, but he did not believe that the third generation's move was a good omen. Uchiha Fugaku scratched his head and said, "Hokage-sama, don't you think it will cause you trouble if a newsie joins your personal guard now? That boy is clumsy, how can he help you get things done?" Uchiha Fugaku paused and said close to Sandai's ear, "Aren't I afraid that people in the village will gossip?" Danzo looked at Uchiha Fugaku, who was cautious at this time, and his face suddenly darkened. Now that there are only 3 of them here, Uchiha Fugaku is still so cautious. He is not guarding against anyone else. "But you were careful and I didn't say anything. You said it so loudly, were you afraid that I wouldn't hear you?" Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Danzo vaguely, looked at Uchiha Fugaku and said, "Don't worry, there will be nothing wrong with that kid becoming my personal guard. Don't you still believe in Hokage-sama?" Uchiha Fugaku knew that he still couldn't hide, so he bowed deeply to Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, "Thank you, Hokage-sama." "Well, okay, you can go back." Yes. Soon, Uchiha Fugaku disappeared into the darkness. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Shimura Danzo and said, "What do you think?" "What do I think?" I stood and watched. "Sir." Shimura Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen angrily and said, "How else can I look at it? This Uchiha clan is really cruel to me. He cut off an arm to survive. Could it be that someone spread the news that we are going to attack the Uchiha clan? But I still think we should kill him. Absolutely." As he spoke, Shimura Danzo's eyes showed a greedy color. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and said, "This matter cannot be done. If the Uchiha clan is wiped out now, the Konoha clan will definitely fall into panic. By then, you and I will both be demoted." Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and said, "Let's monitor the Uchiha clan for a short period of time, but we really can't kill them. If we have to, just use war to wipe them out." After saying that, Sarutobi Hiruzen's body disappeared directly into the darkness. Shimura Danzo looked at the scene of the third generation leaving, snorted coldly, and murmured, "Hiruzen, Hiruzen, you are constantly being disturbed by it." Then, the whole person disappeared directly into the darkness. Fugaku returned to the ancestral hall. His personal guards had already cleaned up the war scene and were waiting for Fugaku's order. After seeing Fugaku coming back, he hurriedly ran forward and said, "Master Patriarch, these corpses have been taken care of. Look." Uchiha Fugaku looked at the guards who were still standing neatly on the spot, waved his hands slightly and said, "Thank you for your hard work tonight, and you know the reason. I won't explain it to you anymore. When you go back, go to our treasury to get some money to reward everyone. Let's disperse tonight." "Yes, thank you, Mr. Patriarch." Creak. The wooden door slowly closed, and Bailey's handsome face appeared in front of him. "Senior, I have followed the instructions you gave me and will reduce the number of people." Fugaku lowered his head and said respectfully in the direction of Bailey. But Bailey said in a cold voice, "Remember not to hesitate when doing anything, otherwise there may be fatal danger." "Yes, I heard the conversation between you and the 3 generations today. Don't worry about them for the time being. As long as you don't do anything too outrageous, they won't touch you at all. Just follow them. Over time, he will think that there is no danger." Uchiha Fugaku didn't react at all after hearing Shiratuki's words, but gritted his teeth and said, "Sir, who are you?" These 10 words seemed to have exhausted Uchiha Fugaku's lifetime courage, and the sweat all over his body seemed to be soaked. Bailey's whole body's aura immediately became gloomy, and he said slowly, "Remember, you don't choose me, I choose you. You can take what I give you, but you can't take what I don't give you." After that, a line of white smoke rose directly, and the white raccoon disappeared, leaving only a fox mask. Uchiha Fugaku slowly slid down against the wall, gasping for air. His momentum was unmatched by Susanna alone. Baitan stood directly above the entire Konoha and patrolled around the entire Konoha. Standing on the Hokage rock, he sighed slowly. "Hey, Konoha now, there is irreversible darkness under the prosperous scene." "Sir, what do you mean by that?" A middle-aged figure slowly walked out of the woods, holding a fox-shaped note in his hand. "Of course a big family like yours will know what I mean." Bailey didn't even look back and said directly, "Could it be that your excellency really thinks that our Hyuga clan are fools and wants to challenge the majesty of our clan?" "That's right, the person coming at this moment is none other than the current patriarch of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hazashi." And the words on his note were clearly, "Do you want to know the secret of the Sanjigan?" At this time, the smile on Shiratuki's face became even wider, and he said, "I thought you could be a little better than Uchiha Fugaku, but the IQ of the leader of the Konoha clan is only that much." Soft boxing technique Bagua 64 palms. But Hyuga Hiyashi didn't give Bailey much time to talk. He took a fighting stance and rushed towards Bailey. Bailey looked at Hyuga Hiyashi at this time and shook his head, muttering, "Not confident enough, no wonder Sarutobi Hiruzen played him like a fool." Bailey didn't block it either. Hyuga Hiyashi's 8 diagrams 64 palms hit Bailey directly, and Bailey disappeared with a bang. Substitute technique, clone technique, in the sealed space. Bailey shook his head in disappointment. After Minato saw it, a flying thunder god came over and found a suitable posture to lie on the body of the 9 tails and asked, "What's wrong? I have never seen you look disappointed in these 6 years. It's strange that you can sigh today." Bailey glanced at Minato and said, "Old Shui, what do you think of the IQ of the clan leaders in Konoha?" Minato thought carefully and said, "The clans in Konoha have always focused on their own interests, but in terms of IQ, I think they are all very scheming." Bailey looked at Minato and said, "Are you serious?" "Yes, what's wrong?" "Hey, it's okay, I finally know why Sarutobi Hiruzen can be a ninja hero." Hinata Hiyashi returned to his home, but the figure in his mind could not be dispelled for a long time. "Don't think about it. Go to sleep." Finally, Hinata Hiyashi finally fell asleep with a blanket. The next morning, "The king asked me to patrol the mountains, I went around the world, the water in the mountains is very sweet. Naruto sang a little song and walked out of the room. Although I don't know the meaning of the song I sang, it must be good things from the master's mouth. I also asked the master about the origin of this song. But the master said that it was sung by a legendary figure. It was the first time I saw the master so sad. I guess that person is really important to the master. At the last moment when the school gate was closed, Naruto stretched out his hand and blocked the gate directly. Hashido Madai, let me in. In an instant, Naruto's figure went through the gap directly, turned around and waved to the guard. Thank you, uncle. Naruto, panting, finally ran to Sasuke's side and sat down. Huff, huff, were you chased by a dog? After a long time of contact, Sasuke is no longer as irritable to Naruto as before, and sometimes he can still chat with him. No, Iruka-sensei is behind. Naruto calmed his chest and said slowly in Sasuke's ear. Sasuke, Naruto, why didn't you say it earlier? Iruka walked in slowly from the door of the classroom, and said with a black face, from now on, you are not allowed to enter the class on time. Class. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, a day's class was over. Naruto stretched his waist lazily and said, hey, a day's class is over. Then, he slowly walked towards his home, thinking about what to eat in the evening. Then, Uzumaki Naruto's eyes changed directly. The figure disappeared and grabbed the little girl who had been following him, and walked towards the alley on the side. Miss Hinata, you can't be that bad, can you? You can't be that bad, can you? Hinata Hyuga's face suddenly turned red, and she broke free from Naruto's restraints and ran towards her home. Hey, it's really a little girl. Naruto shook his head slowly as he watched Hinata Hyuga run away. In his body, Bailey cursed at this stupid boy. You really are, you are so. At this moment, Bailey finally couldn't bear it anymore, and his ki immortal body suddenly awakened, spraying Uzumaki Naruto's body to pieces. Uzumaki Naruto's face also suddenly turned red, and he lowered his head and ran quickly towards his home. Bailey seemed to be thirsty, and directly picked up a glass of water from the ground and drank it up. At this time, Bailey's words were not repeated at all. The light of the little sun Namikaze Minato now seemed to be lost, and disappeared directly into the darkness, but he couldn't listen anymore. In this way, Bailey cursed for a whole day without realizing it. Time passed quickly. One day, Bailey raised his little head, looked at the blood moon night in the sky, and murmured. I really don't know if Obito's face will turn dark when he sees Uchiha Itachi's non-cooperation. He. At this time, Bailey seemed to have thought of something, and his face suddenly changed. He thought of the most unlikely possibility. Then Bailey's figure disappeared directly. At the gate of the Uchiha clan, a man wearing a tiger skin mask held two long chains in his hands and looked at the gate of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Itachi didn't even enter my plan, so I really have to do it alone. Then, a red light flashed in one eye. But a knife light exploded directly in front of Uchiha Obito. Azumi's agile figure instantly appeared on the gate of the Uchiha clan, and the surrounding area was full of Uchiha Fugaku's personal guards. I was fooled. At this time, even if Obito was stupid, he understood that something was wrong. He was set up. Thinking of this, Obito's eyes revealed a kind of anger, and he said directly to the Uchiha clan members from all directions. How dare you treat your ancestors like this? I am Uchiha Madara. Today is the time for you to contribute to the Uchiha clan. Then, the two double chains were directly wrapped around his arms, and the fierce light in his eyes appeared directly. The whole person jumped up and slashed mercilessly in all directions. Uchiha Azumi's figure moved, and the three Magatama in his pupils stared at the masked man in front of him. The sharp blade in his hand chopped out fiercely. Swish. Air. At this moment, the body of Uchiha Madara was like air, diving directly into the void, and the hand slowly reached out to Uchiha Azumi. But at this extreme distance, Uchiha Azumi could not react at all, and could only watch as Uchiha Madara's fist hit his chest fiercely. Bang! For a moment, Uchiha Azumi was like a butterfly with broken wings, smashing towards the wall like a cannonball. Boom! Uchiha Azumi's figure was instantly buried in endless ashes. Itachi Uchiha suddenly appeared at the collapsed wall, desperately searching back and forth in the rubble. Finally, in the rubble, he found Uchiha Izumi's pale face, with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, obviously seriously injured. Ah! For a moment, Itachi Uchiha began to shout at the endless blood moon. The three Magatama in his eyes suddenly turned into a Mangekyo Sharingan. A young man wearing a dark high-necked short-sleeved top and triangular protective gear on the upper body, wearing the same color pants on the lower body, and wearing leggings. There was the Uchiha family emblem on the back of his clothes, and a young man carrying a small sword appeared directly beside Itachi Uchiha. He helped Itachi Uchiha up and said, "Itachi, cheer up, Izumi is fine." The person who came was another genius of the Uchiha family, Itachi Uchiha's best friend and mentor Uchiha Shisui. Uchiha Shisui directly pulled Itachi away, waved to the medical team behind him, and carried Izumi away directly. He stood up and looked at Uchiha Madara in front of him seriously. "You look like you are well prepared. Are you going to destroy my Uchiha family today?" As he said this, he slowly drew out the ninja sword from behind. Suddenly, chakra covered the whole body of the ninja sword. Obito looked at Uchiha Shisui, who stood up at this time, and the disdain in his eyes faded slightly. Because this man gave him a sense of oppression, and he didn't know where it came from. Uchiha-style sword jumping flame. The Uchiha Shisui knife was instantly covered with a layer of flames, and it slashed directly towards Uchiha Madara. The flowing fire burst out directly from Uchiha Obito's body. Divine power. At this time, Obito actually chose to use his hollow directly and grabbed Uchiha Shisui's neck. "Got you." But Uchiha Shisui's figure disappeared and suddenly appeared behind Obito. The tachi in his hand slashed down hard. Clang. At this time, the sword actually slashed directly to the ground. "Your strength is really much worse than Hashirama." The ghostly voice of this sentence came from behind Uchiha Shisui. A flying chain directly hooked Uchiha Shisui's body. Fire release. Dragon fire technique. At this time, Uchiha Shisui reacted very quickly, and spit out a flame directly at his throat. At this time, Obito had no choice but to block him, and a substitute technique flashed out of the battlefield. The teleportation technique was activated directly and he returned to Uchiha Itachi. I don't want to admit it, but this guy is really strong." At this moment, Shisui flashed out from the sudden burst of life and death, breathing in fresh air. The resentment in Uchiha Itachi's eyes continued to rise. He slowly stood up, looked at Uchiha Madara, and said, "I'll give it a try." "No." Uchiha Shisui directly stopped Uchiha Itachi. There was no way he could let Itachi take the risk of death. The scarlet pupils in Uchiha Itachi's eyes slightly glanced at Uchiha Shisui and said, "Let me go." Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Shisui looked at Uchiha Itachi, who was serious at this time, slowly let go of his palm and said, "Go ahead and be careful, the eyes on the other side are on the same level as you." Uchiha Itachi nodded his head slightly, looked at Uchiha Madara, and said, "Let me play with you." The kunai in my hand appeared directly. The figure flashed directly in front of Uchiha Madara. As expected of Uchiha Fugaku's son. This talent is unparalleled. But Obito's divine power was activated directly, allowing Uchiha Itachi's kunai to penetrate without any hesitation. His palms directly covered Uchiha Itachi's eyes. Danger. Uchiha Shisui's teleportation technique was activated directly and came to the two Uchiha Itachi's sides. It's too late. Amaterasu. At this time, the pattern in the pupil of Uchiha Itachi's right eye began to rotate crazily, and black flames spurted out instantly. Obito's pupils shrank suddenly, but it was too late. The black flame started burning directly from his palm towards his arm. A flash of pain flashed in Obito's eyes, and he quickly retreated away. The water release ninjutsu appeared in his mouth and headed towards Amaterasu cover. But it is of no use. At this time, Uchiha Itachi also covered his eyes and slowly knelt down. After all, the burden of the Mangekyo Sharingan at this time was not something that a young boy like him could bear. Uchiha Shisui appeared directly next to Uchiha Itachi, directly picked up Uchiha Itachi, who fell at this time, and returned to the rear. Uchiha Obito looked at the black flames that had not been extinguished at this time, and the chain knife in his hand struck directly at his arm. But at this time, there was no blood splashed. The Uchiha tribesmen couldn't help but take a few steps back when they looked at the monster-like Uchiha Madara. The anger in Uchiha Obito's eyes kept emerging, and he watched the anger in Uchiha Itachi's heart keep rising. He, the man who started the Nine Tails Rebellion. He actually lost an arm by an unknown little guy. In an instant, Uchiha Obito's figure appeared in front of Uchiha Shisui. Clang! This sound was Uchiha Obito's chain knife hitting Uchiha Shisui's sword hard. The enraged Uchiha Obito became even faster. The sword brings the style of swordsmanship. For a moment, Uchiha Shisui was no match for Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Shisui looked at Uchiha Madara, who was walking quickly in the direction of Uchiha Itachi. The anxious look on his face is even worse. He began to quickly pick up the seals in his hands. Uchiha-style blast sword. Uchiha Shisui hit Uchiha Madara directly at this time. The momentum all over his body seemed to be unstoppable. And, at this time, Uchiha Obito's white Zetsu arm grew back quickly. The combat power has more than doubled. Not long after, Uchiha Obito said while squeezing Uchiha Shisui's neck. It's really sad, but what's exciting is that Shunshin Shisui of the Uchiha family is about to die in my hands. At this moment, Shisui's eyes looked like a big windmill. Another kaleidoscope. The strength in Uchiha Obito's hand was about to increase, and Uchiha Shisui's neck also made a creaking sound. Hey, Uchiha Madara, tell me what you are doing in Konoha. Konoha is not a place for you to run wild now. A voice that was familiar and strange to Uchiha Obito appeared at the Uchiha gate. It's him, that terrifying man. Nightmare, why is he here? Bai Li's figure also appeared on the doorframe of the gate, looking at Uchiha Obito with a smile in his eyes. Obito shuddered all over. The whole person woke up instantly. The murderous intent in his body was diluted all of a sudden, and he began to retreat quickly to the back. Who are you? A low roar, but the voice was still calm. Me, I have many identities, but you can't understand each one of them. Bai Li's figure appeared directly in front of Uchiha Obito. A fierce kick directly hit Uchiha Obito's stomach. At this moment, Obito's internal organs seemed to be displaced. Such a strong force. By the way, I hate it most when someone asks me who I am. Today I will tell you that I am your grandfather. After that, Bai Li's figure flew forward again. Directly shot left and right at Uchiha Obito's face. Uchiha Shisui looked at the embarrassed scene of Uchiha Madara at this time, and twitched the corners of his mouth slightly, muttering. Senior, is it so strong? As the time passed, Shirakuki seemed to be addicted to beating Uchiha Obito in the face. At this time, he couldn't stop. But looking at Uchiha Obito under him, Baitan clapped his hands and stood up. One hand directly grabbed Uchiha Obito and said, You go, I'll give you a break today, my dear Obito. Then, Bai Li's hand relaxed slightly, and Uchiha Obito's figure was directly drawn into the void. Uchiha Shisui's figure instantly came to Shiratuki's side, looked at the direction in which Uchiha Madara left, and asked. Senior, this. Bai Li raised his palms, looked at Shisui with slightly slanted eyes, and said, You don't need to know this kind of thing. Those eyes outside, please deal with it. You don't need me to teach you how to blame them. Uchiha Shisui looked at the secret whistles outside the village and slowly nodded his head. Shiratuki's figure instantly arrived in Uchiha Fugaku's room. Senior, how are you doing? After this incident, you Uchiha clan should have no problems, but you should know how to change the villagers' thoughts about you, understand? Yes, Fugaku understands. By the way, remember, Uzumaki Naruto is the star you need to protect, otherwise your Uchiha clan will still fall into the crisis of genocide. At this moment, a cool breeze came out directly from the window, and Uchiha Fugaku shuddered. The purest killing intent. But when he raised his head, Bai Li's figure also disappeared. The nine-tailed Jinchuriki. This identity is really sensitive. A lonely voice sounded in Uchiha Fugaku's room, and then it fell into darkness. The Hokage's office, the highest point in Konoha. A handsome young man sat here alone, pouring some strong wine into his mouth with his left hand. He sighed as he looked at the full moon in the sky. It's been so many years in the blink of an eye, it's really fate. Naruto, I've paved your way for you. With the blessing of the Uchiha clan, I believe in you. It's so easy to do all this. The bright moonlight slowly shone on him. The shadow behind turned out to be a huge fox. Early the next morning, angry shouts came from the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen, that is the strength of our elite. You can't ignore it. Shimura Danzo stood in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen, looking angrily, and the document in his hand fell directly onto Sarutobi Hiruzen's desk. What's the fuss about? Do you really have nothing to lose by being my Anbu? Will you bear this responsibility? Sarutobi Hiruzen threw his pipe directly on the table and slowly rubbed his eyebrows. Then what should we do? Our roots have suffered greater losses than yours. Otherwise, if you give me the 9 tails Jinchuriki, I promise to give you the most powerful ninja in Konoha village. Or that Uchiha Itachi is not bad either. You believe me. But before Shimura Danzo finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen angrily interrupted Shimura Danzo's words. Okay, are you the Hokage of Konoha, or am I the Hokage of Konoha? It seems like you didn't even listen to a word I said. Do you have to destroy your roots? Boom, boom, boom. 3 crisp knocks on the door interrupted their quarrel. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo Shimura at this time, picked up his pipe and said, "Enter." Uchiha Fugaku's figure slowly walked in from outside the door. After last night, Uchiha Fugaku seemed to have aged. "It's Fugaku. Come and sit here." Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the leader of the Uchiha clan and stood up directly and said. Uchiha Fugaku took out a stack of lists in his hand, placed it on Sarutobi Hiruzen's table, and said, "Lord Hokage, our Uchiha tribe was invaded last night. Countless ninjas died last night. This is our casualty list." Sarutobi Hiruzen took it and looked at it for a while, then put down the list and said, "Fugaku, thank you for your hard work. The safety of Konoha depends on your guards to maintain it, but if something like this happens again, Konoha is sorry for you." At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen touched his eyes and actually cried a few tears. Uchiha Fugaku looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen at this time and said, it's okay for our Uchiha clan to suffer a little injustice. The will of fire is endless. Even if our Uchiha clan falls, there will still be thousands more thousands of Uchihas stand up. At this time, Uchiha Fugaku's exciting speech made the 3rd generation's forehead appear with black lines. Your uncles, if there were thousands of Uchiha, could I, Konoha, still want it? The 3rd generation gently patted Uchiha Fugaku's shoulder and sighed. I know you are here for Konoha, and Konoha also knows your sadness. I will remember it. Okay, if nothing happens, you can go back. Konoha remembers the contribution of the Uchiha clan. But Uchiha Fugaku raised his head and glanced at Shimura Danzo next to him. Suddenly he grabbed the corner of Sarutobi Hiruzen's clothes and took him aside. He lay down in Sarutobi Hiruzen's ear and said, Hokage, Shimura Danzo is not a good person. I will wait until later to hurt you. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Uchiha Fugaku and said, what's going on? Uchiha Fugaku turned his head and looked at Shimura Danzo vigilantly. He showed his big white teeth to Shimura Danzo and said, it's okay, consultant. Shimura Danzo, do you think I'm stupid? You are still gossiping. Then he turned his head and whispered in Sarutobi Hiruzen's ear. Hokage, this is the death list we found outside our clan last night, but we don't know the specific names. I only use the patterns on the masks to define the names. There are 20 bodies. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils shrank slightly and asked, what are their strengths? Junin, right. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Uchiha Fugaku's eyes, as if he wanted to find out if Uchiha Fugaku was lying. But he didn't find any clues. Sarutobi Hiruzen exhaled deeply, looked at Uchiha Fugaku with trust in his eyes, patted his shoulder and said, okay, you go out, I know. Yes. Then, Uchiha Fugaku walked straight to the door. Looking at the doubtful look that Shimura Danzo was looking at him at this time, Uchiha Fugaku smiled and said, goodbye, consultant. That day, according to the report of the guard on duty, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo had been arguing all day. Countless things were broken. Ha 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 ha, I'm laughing so hard. I didn't expect that Uchiha Fugaku's IQ is above the line. Bai Li looked at everything and began to laugh mercilessly at Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo in the sealed space. Minato smiled helplessly and said, actually, the IQ of the Konoha clan is always online. But at this time, Bai Li stopped laughing after hearing Minato's words and said two words directly to Minato. Hee, what do you think I do? It's all for your son. If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. Just like that, Uzumaki Naruto's graduation season came in a blink of an eye. At this time, Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto had obviously become good friends, and they talked about everything at this time. By the river, Naruto, give me back my grilled fish. Fire release. Go fireball jutsu. Sasuke looked at Naruto, who was still acting rogue at this time, and shot out a huge fireball. You're cheating. Earth escape earth flow wall. A huge earth wall instantly blocked Sasuke's fireball. Naruto's figure suddenly appeared behind Sasuke, and a brick hit him directly. Kakashi's figure appeared directly between the two. The nine-tailed chakra in his hand directly controlled the two of them and said, still eating. You are all graduating now. Go back to school quickly, the third-generation old man is going to go crazy soon. At this time, Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other and started running in the direction of the Ninja Academy. Kakashi looked at the direction the two were leaving, shook his head and said, it's great to be young. I casually took out a copy of Intimate Paradise and read it while walking. In the Ninja Academy, Iruka looked at Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke who had not returned yet, and his eyebrows couldn't help but wrinkled. He murmured, where did these two children go? But at this time, Iruka could only bite the bullet and shout, Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke Uchiha. Looking at the silent training ground, Iruka shouted again. After a few seconds, Iruka slowly looked at the next person's message and said, Uzumaki. Teacher, I'm here. At this moment, Uchiha Sasuke's figure squeezed in directly from the crowd. Suddenly, Iruka looked at Uchiha Sasuke and smiled with satisfaction. But in this test, there was no problem for Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke, and the whole morning passed by in such a hurry. Noon. The students who graduated from the ninja school looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen on the podium under the scorching sun. Finally, Sarutobi Hiruzen moved from his seat, picked up his teacup and took a sip. He walked slowly in front of everyone, coughed his throat and said, you are all the proudest students of our Konoha village. As Hokage, I represent Konoha to be proud of you. You are the everlasting flame in Konoha village. You all represent the future of Konoha village. Quote, from today on, you will graduate from the Ninja Academy and officially embark on your ninja career. You will know the important mission carried by the ninjas, and you will understand the goals that the ancestors fought for. I believe that one day, you will stand in my position, wearing your own Hokage robe. The will of fire, endless life. Countless words finally laid the groundwork here, and countless voices began to vibrate in the square. The will of fire, endless life. The will of fire. Endless life. Uzumaki Naruto looked at the sanctimonious guy on the stage and sneered disdainfully. Afterwards, each class returned directly to its own classroom. Iruka looked at the people in front of him and said, at this time tomorrow, you need to come back here. You will be taken away by your respective teachers for higher level training. Then, Iruka touched Uzumaki Naruto's head and said, don't make trouble when you go to the new class. Don't be late. Being late is not good. A few years have passed and Iruka has come to realize that Uzumaki Naruto is not as evil as the Kyuubi at all, and that his hatred of the Kyuubi has been transferred to Uzumaki Naruto. This is a very sad thing. At this time, Iruka also cared for Naruto like his own child. Yes, teacher, I can. Okay, everyone, please leave. I'll treat you to ramen. Good. But at this time, Sasuke also came over and said, teacher, I want to go too. Okay, let's all go. After a while, the older one led the two younger ones into the Ichiraku ramen shop. Hand slap uncle. Hey, little Naruto and little Sasuke are here. After a year of hard work by Uchiha Fugaku, the Uchiha clan has been completely accepted by the villagers of Konoha. Boss, 3 big bowls of tonkatsu ramen. Ha ha ha, Mr. Iruka brought the two little ones to eat noodles today. Shuda was not so anxious, and started chatting with Iruka. Iruka nodded his head slightly, looking at Shuda and said, yes, isn't this group of guys graduating? I took them out for a meal, which can be regarded as their final summary of the ninja school. Yo, it's educational. Shuda will treat you to this meal today. Ha ha ha, no, I can still afford this meal. Hey, what you said, Shuda doesn't need your 3 bowls of ramen, I'll treat you. At this time, the two of them were busy paying the bill. Uzumaki Naruto hurriedly said, "Thank you, Uncle Shuda." Shuda and Iruka were stunned for a moment, looked at each other, laughed, and said, "Look at you, you are a teacher and you are not as good as a child." At this time, Iruka also smiled and shook his head, without saying a word, and said to Shuda, "Then I'll be thick-skinned." After saying that, he sat down with Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. "Your little head, you're really getting smarter." Iruka looked at Uzumaki Naruto at this time and tapped his little head with his fingers. While the ramen was being served, Iruka told the two of them, "You must come on time tomorrow, this is related to your future ninja life." However, just halfway through the words, Uchiha Sasuke's eyes suddenly lit up. Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Izumi slowly walked in from outside the Ichiraku ramen restaurant. "Elder brother," Uchiha Sasuke shouted directly when he saw his brother. Uchiha Itachi looked at his younger brother at this time, smiled slightly, walked over, tapped Uchiha Sasuke's forehead and said, "Why are you here eating ramen? Iruka-sensei invites us to dinner." At this time, Uchiha Itachi looked at the embarrassed Iruka beside him, smiled slightly, and said, "It's really troublesome for Mr. Iruka. This kid has always been very naughty." After hearing this, Iruka looked at Uchiha Itachi, touched his head and smiled. Nothing, Uchiha Sasuke is still very obedient in school." After hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke straightened his shoulders instantly, meaning to praise me quickly. "I am the good boy." Iruka and Uchiha Itachi looked at each other and smiled. Itachi Uchiha knelt down, tapped Sasuke's forehead, and said, "You are the most well-behaved, which is really good, but Naruto is better." Uchiha Itachi looked at the unhappy Naruto next to him, smiled slightly, and said. After hearing this, Uzumaki Naruto straightened his waist and even started to compete with Uchiha Sasuke. Iruka did not look at the two little guys, but looked at Uchiha Itachi and said, "Why don't you sit down with this girl and eat something?" Uchiha Itachi shook his head gently, pointed outside and said, "No, Quan and I have to go out on patrol." After saying that, Uchiha Itachi directly grabbed Uchiha Izumi's palm and walked outside. Uchiha Izumi's face immediately turned red. Uchiha Sasuke looked at his brother and was about to say something. Uzumaki Naruto directly covered Uchiha Sasuke's mouth and said, "Don't disturb Brother Itachi's good deeds." Uchiha Sasuke could only watch Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Izumi walking slowly. "Brother, you are confused. How can a woman be as important as her brothers? I am your biological brother." Uchiha Sasuke looked at his ramen bowl lonely at this time and murmured, "Brother doesn't want me anymore." One of Naruto's hands directly touched the back of Sasuke's head and slammed the ramen bowl. Little Sasuke's face was instantly buried in the ramen bowl. In an instant, countless cheers and laughter came from Ichiraku Ramen. Bailey looked at the two of them in the sealed space and couldn't help but shake his head. Still a child. After saying that, his figure disappeared directly into the sealed space. The clan land of the Hyuga family. Hinata Hazashi was currently watching his youngest daughter Hinata Hanabi practice her family's soft boxing technique. A figure landed gently on the eaves of Hinata's house. A man wearing a fox mask was squatting on it and watching the training scene. Bagua Kongzong. A high-intensity and high-density chakra shock wave slammed directly in the direction of Bailey. Hinata Hazu stood in front of his chair, with traces of white smoke still coming out of his palms. But the imagined sound that penetrated everything did not appear, and the high-intensity and high-density chakra shock wave disappeared directly in front of Bailey. "I told you, don't attack me with such childish tricks, okay?" At this time, Hinata Hazu's pupils shrank sharply. Bailey's figure quickly arrived in front of Hinata Hazu. The eternal kaleidoscope in his eyes began to rotate crazily, and at the same time, the red substance on the white raccoon finger directly penetrated into Hinata Hazu's head. Follow Naruto Uzumaki's command and protect Naruto Uzumaki's safety. Suddenly, Bailey began to mutter something, and Hinata and Hazu also followed Bailey's words at this time. Follow Naruto Uzumaki's command and protect Naruto Uzumaki's safety. Bailey glanced slightly, and the little Hinata Hanabi next to him turned the kaleidoscope slightly and fell into coma in an instant. Then, Bailey's figure suddenly disappeared. After a long time, Hinata and Hazu's eyes also regained their clarity, and he murmured, "What's wrong with me?" Hinata Hiyashi looked at the unconscious Hinata Hanabi in the yard and directly reached out to help him up. At this time, Hinata Hanabi woke up in a daze. "Father. Well, do you still know what happened?" "I don't know." Hinata Hazu looked at his little daughter, nodded his head slightly, and said, "Okay, you can go back and rest today." "Yes, father." Hinata pinched the center of his eyebrows, but when he glanced out of the corner of his eye, a fox mask was left on the ground. "It's him, that mysterious man." At this time, Hinata Hazu could no longer control his hands. He picked up the mask tremblingly and murmured in his mouth, "It's really a terrifying power, but what exactly are you planning? Is it worthy of your repeated plans?" "Fox." Hinata Hinashi touched the fox texture on the mask and fell into endless contemplation. A small forest outside Konoha. Bailey's figure suddenly appeared here. Creak. At this moment, an excited figure in the depths of the woods was kicking the wooden stake. 1 time, twice, 3 times. A boy began cruel training deep in the woods. Bailey's figure quickly squatted on the tree, looking at the child at this time, who was none other than him. It is none other than Lee, one of the future 12 little heroes of Konoha, Rock Lee. At this time, he was sweating profusely, and there were countless blood stains on the tree and legs, but at this time, he still hit the tree trunk fiercely. "Is it worth it?" Bailey looked at this determined young man and asked. Lock Lee looked over and saw a man wearing a fox mask squatting on a tree branch, looking at him. He suddenly showed his big white teeth and said, "We need someone who can burn youth. I will prove that taijutsu is no worse than ninjutsu." Bailey looked at Lock Lee at this time, slowly shook his head, and sighed. He is really a determined young man. At this time, Lock Lee touched his head in embarrassment and said, "Hey, the key point is that I don't have the talent for ninjutsu at all. I can only work on my own physical skills. Uncle, I need to come down, let's burn our youth together." Tisk, tisk, tisk. If you can't do it, keep going, good boy. Practice hard. With a bang, Bailey's figure disappeared instantly. Xiao Li took the book that Bailey threw out, and there were 3 big characters on the cover. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.